Good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's the 2017 Stormcharge GPVWC Super League, and we're at the Hungrary. It's the 9th round of the championship, bang on the halfway stage in the 2017 championship season. Most of the year has been all about one man, Rudy van Buren, in the Vodbull racing team. But last time out at Silverstone 2 weeks ago, we finally saw a crack in the man's armour, and it could well be a turning tide that goes through the rest of the season. It's going to be a really interesting battle to see how this championship plays out. And now we have a bit of an idea that there's more than just one man in this championship fight. Jake Sanson here from the commentary box. Beside me, Josh Anderson once again, as usual. And my goodness me, Josh, this could be the race that tells us a little bit about whether Silverstone's victory for Florian Geyer was a fluke or whether it's a little bit more of an opportunity for Van Buren to pull away again.
Yeah, cool. We're really see in this race who's where and what's going to go on. And whether, you know, Florian Geyer can keep this mirror up. It's a fantastic win he got last time at Silverstone. Obviously manipulating the strategy to his own, you know, ends. Just he used the tyres so much more well. He saved them better than Van Buren did. Van Buren went for the softs at the end. It didn't pay off. He couldn't catch Geyer enough. And Florian took a brilliant win. And, well, we'll have to see this time whether Rudy is going to, well, say, okay, mate, there was a one-off, or whether Florian can possibly even make it two in a row. Though he does have a back at the grid penalty to serve this race, so it'd be quite amazing if he did make it 2 race wins in a row. Well,
absolutely, yes. He does have to serve a back of the grid penalty, Florian Geyer, so that's going to make things very difficult for him, especially on a circuit that is not known for its overtaking. So, what better housekeeping can we give you coming into this race? Well, Lee Morris is currently on pole position in the Madcap car, once again proving that you don't need to have the best car on the grid to have the best lap in qualifying. Now it's actually starting to rain a little bit around the circuit, I've noticed, so that is an absolute disaster for qualifying. That means that almost certainly Lee Morris is going to hang on to this pole position unless Rudy van Buren can get a decent final sector, but it is raining at the start of qualifying. Now, we did think that there was a possibility of rain coming in to this race, so we may get our second wet race of the 2017 season after China back in April. But this is a big one for the books, Josh. If it's raining now, then we're going to have a really interesting race on our hands.
Is it rain? It looks like it's dry to me. The forecast said nothing about rain, so it's going to completely throw me. If it has started raining, I didn't see anything about it in the forecast. So if it has started, then what is time to start when there's clear skies for me? And, oh no, I say it is raining. Oh, no way. Wow. Yeah. And now it's clouded over all of a sudden. Well.
There you go.
Turn me upside down, call me Philip. I didn't expect it.
It is one heck of a turnaround, this, for the books, and everybody who hasn't got a decent lap in yet is going to be absolutely on the lock stop. So, Gergo Baldi, for example, is down in 13th position on the starting grid, having yet to set a decent flying lap. That's the best he's going to get from this qualifying session. He's not going to be higher than 13th.
Well, it's not looking like it unless he somehow finds some time. But if it has started raining, then that's going to put the dampers on unless the track dries up. And in which case, people will be able to go for high line laps again. Then the track grip's going to be reduced because you've just seen that range. I was going to wash some of the rubber off. So it's not looking like the order's going to change much now with 5 to go. But Lee Morris, this might just be the luckiest splash of rain he's ever seen.
Well, absolutely. And we've got a couple of drivers who have spun off the circuit trying to keep the car on the straight and narrow. So absolutely, the rain has really thrown a curveball into the qualifying session for the 9th round of the championship. I was going to say, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So let's tell you how things are currently going at the moment. Rudy van Buren leads the championship, as we know, with a lead of 53 points at the moment, to Lee Morris in 2nd place, 2 points ahead of Risto Capit. And Gergo Baldi is another 11 points further back from David Feideck and Florian Geyer in the 2 Norwegian racing cars, with Alex Cooper 7th in the point standings. Coming into this one, there's a few changes that we need to make you aware of. It's good to see back in the Valters Automotive car again is Daniel Sharanku after the shortest replacement in history, Jarl Tain at Silverstone, who lasted as far as Farm Curve on the first lap before he got taken out, which is a real shame. I would have loved to have seen just what he could have done with that car at Silverstone, but we never really got the chance to see it. The Storm Racing team is back this time, Joshua, and it's going to be interesting with Menno Clont and Mike Quint at the wheel.
Yeah, it is. Menno, of course, has driven this season so far once before for Stormers. We know what Menno's capable of. Very capable driver, and, you know, always wanting to watch out for his Menno. Great, great driver. As is Mike Quint, his Dutch compatriot, who has been really ripping up form at a challenge and showing the big guns how it's done. And he's had 4 races in Super Cup as well. Obviously, 1 first-tier racing, 3 for Kosmosaki Japan. But, you know, he's had a podium in that as well. So definitely want to watch out for on his day, though he's not looking great so far this session with the rain. It doesn't look like the Dutchman is going to improve that much more at the moment.
No, indeed. Ben Schubenek is still there at his team. Gerrit de Vries is back in action again, actually, for Green Stripes Racing. I hadn't seen that. So Gerrit de Vries is in the car alongside Daniel Lovett, actually. So Daniel Lovett, I'm fairly sure that's a debut for him in that car, isn't it, Josh?
I haven't seen him around. I actually was on the server testing a couple of days ago just to try my own weights out. I saw Dan on the server practicing. He seems quite capable. So a solid finish possibly on the cards for Green Stripes. You know, in a season where they really need to show what they're worth, of perhaps maybe risk going down to the Super Cup. That's what they need. And someone like Lovett might actually be able to get the job done here at Hungrary and get some more well-needed points. You only have 4 so far.
Well, Lee Morris is the luckiest man in Budapest. Having put in that banker lap, it now looks as though it's going to be the pole position lap. A good evening to everybody watching the stream on YouTube, to the likes of Elise Skinner, to Brett Metcalf from South Africa, to the team bosses, of course, of Vodbull Motorsport and Hawkeye Racing, everybody watching along. Well, now that it's raining, and we weren't expecting too much rain at this point in the proceedings, we've got a very strange grid because several drivers have not been able to set decent lap times. Gergo Baldi set a 1:21.8, but that's nearly 2 seconds off the pole position of Lee Morris, so he will be starting no better than 13th with 1 minute and 47 seconds still to go, and no grip on the circuit at the moment. 3 drivers haven't set a lap time at all. They are Ben Horrell, who, of course, is racing in the Street Fighter Racing team car. His teammate, David Francic, is up in the top 6. Gerrit de Vries in the Green Stripes Racing car. His teammate, Dan Lovett, did set a time, which was nearly 5 seconds off the pace for his first flying lap. And then Fran Lopez in the Adonis, once again, Josh, has not got a qualifying lap in. Are we about to see the Fran Lopez that guns it through the field like stink, or are we about to see the Fran Lopez that occasionally falls off the boil?
Well, if he's starting from the back, then I assume he'll be right up there, going at the 4 beats and trying to charge up the way. That is the Fran Lopez way, you know, make up as many positions as you can. And, well, what he's actually trying, I think he's on those tyres. You're not allowed to escape on track and then return, otherwise you suffer a penalty. So what Lopez is having to do is negotiate it, while the likes of Alex Cooper gets held up. And obviously, he's just going to try and steer as out of the way as possible while not impeding people on their flying laps as Lopez. And I don't know whether there's damage to that. I don't know whether it's just the fact that he's on slicks in the rain means he's aquaplaning everywhere, but he's got to try and get it slowly back. He's not going to have enough time to do another lap at this point, so he may as well just escape off, but he's obviously choosing to try and get it back.
They are genuinely on slicks out on the wet surface, trying to see if there's any grip out there to get a flying lap in. I'm surprised that they're even considering it.
But what? Oh, he's staying out just to do a lap. Well, this is interesting.
Well, I suppose the argument must be, well, what if this happens during the race and it gets dry? And we need to figure out what the car is going to do. We need to figure out where the grip is going to be and where it isn't going to be. So let's just run the car in and see how much grip there is. But I can tell you how much grip there is. There's none. It's a really tricky circuit, the Budapest circuit.
As Lopez has just found out, they're getting a massive squiggle on out of 1, and David Fider getting 2 on the 8 to see. It's like he's driving on sheet ice. There's water everywhere. He's on tyres with no treads. It's not displacing any water. It's just chucking it under the wheels, and he's aquaplaning everywhere.
Did I just see a flash of lightning? I'm not sure if I did or not, but I think it's going to get very, very heavy indeed, this. Now, let's not forget, the last major race of the GPVWC Championship that we've seen where it rained was, of course, China earlier this year. The weather seems to be second-guessing us a little bit because it's not sure exactly, we're not sure exactly what it's going to do going into the race itself. Well, that is the biggest anticlimax in the season because, of course, the rain has really decided the grid for us. It's going to be Lee Morris on pole position ahead of Rudy van Buren. Florian Geyer is the 3rd quickest man out there, but let's not forget he's got to take that back of the grid penalty going into this one. Risto Capit, David Fidek and David Francic with Alex Cooper, Nick Rowland, Bart de Vos and Michael Ayres in the top 10, just ahead of Ben Schubenek, Thomas Hins, Gergo Baldi all the way down in 13th alongside Tobias Olsen. Daniel Sharanku in 15th, a miserable start to the race for the Valters Automotive team then. Maurice Bracan in the second Adonis, well, the leading Adonis car, I should say now, is in 16th on the grid. From Dan Lovett, Menno Clant, Mike Quint in the 2 Storm Racing cars, Ben Horrell, Gerrit de Vries, and right at the back is Fran Lopez, who is just crawling around the race circuit, it has to be said. I'm not entirely sure what he's up to at the moment.
I've got no idea what he's up to. Maybe he's just trying to put a lap in for the sake of putting a lap in. Well, I have no idea. Maybe he's just trying to go around and clear his... He's actually crawled to a halt as Lopez now, and he's not even done the lap. Well, that would make 3 people who haven't done laps. And we talk about a miserable start to the race for Wouters Automotive with Gergo Baldi down in 13th. It gets even more miserable, Jake, when you factor in that Baldi actually has the back of the raid penalty of his own to serve, as does Gerrit de Vries, as does Florian Gaia, and, of course, Ben Horrell. So, you know, 4 drivers having to serve their penalties coming into this, but Morris with a crucial, perhaps, pole position.
Well, it's not too bad for Fran Lopez then, because that means he stands bog standard 18th then, doesn't he? So he's going to be 18th, whatever happens. Lee Morris, though, pole position, and hopefully this time...
Interesting. He's asked for his first lap to be used. That's not going to affect anything, but he may have cut on that 1:19.8. He's going to go down to a 1:20.01, and that is going to put him a 10th ahead of Rudy Van Buren.
Yes, it is. So actually, he is going to be in a good position there. So, yeah, that's a sensible decision. Let's be honest here. This is a good opportunity for Lee Morris. He's in a very strong car. Well, I say a very strong car. He's able to get a lot out of it. It's not a very strong car. We know this of the Mad Cape Racing car. They really struggle when it comes to upgrades. So, pound for pound, it's probably the slowest car on the grid. But Lee Morris manages to do an awful lot with it. So the fact that it's on pole position ahead of Rudy Van Buren has got to give them a little bit of discomfort going into this one, because Rudy Van Buren obviously wants to be miles ahead. But this rain has really thrown a bit of a curveball to the rest of the field.
It has, yeah, and well, I think this grid that we're seeing might get jumbled up a bit with the penalties, but also because Michael Ayres has also requested that his second time be used rather than his first. That's actually going to drop in 2 places. So Hinz will go 11th and Zapanic 10th. Ayres will drop to 12th, but then you've got the people that have to take back the grids anyway. So it is going to be very jumbled up grid from the qualifying session, but interesting stuff for sure as we move into warm-up. I'm just looking, actually, Jeffrey Fournier in the chat. Great to have you with us, by the way, Jeffrey. Jeffrey saying Norton with very low downforce. I like it. Now, I didn't know that. I didn't know that the Norton team were using low downforce. I don't know whether you can tell from something or whether he just knows. But I think they might have banked on perhaps a dry race, as a lot of people might have if they looked at the forecast. And so, hang on, there's no rain, but just use low downforce. Then it tips it down. It's like, oh, hang on, what we do now?
Right, 10-minute warm-up, of course. You only get 5 in the Formula Challenge and the Super Cup races, of course, because you get 2 races for them, so you get a little bit more warm-up. Now, this 10-minute warm-up is crucial for the race. David Francic just asking the question, does this rain continue for the race? Now, Fran Lopez says it's definitely carried for the warm-up session, but we're not sure what the weather's going to do going into the race, because it is getting quite heavy out there, it has to be said. So... I don't know. I think we're going to be starting this race on wet tyres, Josh.
Yeah, as the song goes, it is getting kind of heavy, but well, it's the rain, obviously, that's getting heavier, and, well, this is throwing a real spanner in the works. I checked the forecast, as I said. It said no rain from 8 p.m. onwards. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is fine. And then all of a sudden, just rain. I don't know whether it's going to stop or whether this was just a brief shower, because they're from 7 p.m. Budapest time. But this will be 9 o'clock in Hungary now. There should be no rain, and it's actually raining. So this is really throwing everything up in the air, and well, might leave room for a bit of an upset victory.
I tell you what, Jeff Fournier has hit nerd factor 5 because he's been looking at the times, not just at the laps, but he's also been looking at the top speeds around the circuit. This is how he has detected that the Norwegian cars are on low downforce, because every car on the grid is under 300 kilometers per hour at the speed trap, except for Flo Gaia and David Feidek. Gaia is on 303, Feidek is on 307, so that is an interesting one. Elise Skinner jokes, who let... I think that's FSR control our weather. I think that's in relation to a different championship.
I think it is.
That's in relation to a different championship, but I kind of get the joke there, Elise. Nicely done. You're going to be in for an absolute treat. I tell you what, if you haven't watched the previous 8 rounds of the championship, it's already been pretty exciting. And that's a point, Josh, because on the points, Rudy Van Buren has a massive lead. And let's not be fair. Let's not be unfair to him. He has won a lot of races this season. I mean, if we look back at it, over the course of the first 8 races of the season so far, he has won all but 3 races this year, so 5 out of 8. And you have to say, it has not been dull, because he hasn't been dominant in all of the races. He's had maybe 3 or 4 clear victories, but the way and the manner in which he has won these races, that's what's been particularly impressive from Rudy, particularly in Canada.
Yeah, in Canada, really, this is going to be, you know, Rudy has had fantastic races this season, and, well, obviously, you know, 5 wins so far, was going to make it 5 in a row, but obviously denied by Gaia. And, well, I'm sure, actually, we've got someone who can tell us a little bit more about Rudy Van Buren's successes as well. We've managed to acquire the services of a Mike Pittman.
Aha! Well, Mike, do tell us about how things are looking now going into the race, because it looks pretty tricky out there.
Evening, chaps. Yeah, we had this debate. Having watched yesterday's race, I don't know if anyone caught SC, but it was pretty much like this the whole night. So it's not, even though the race chance was 5%, it's looking like we're stuck with some lovely rain.
Absolutely. Well, this is going to be the problem. So what are you guys going to do? Have you got a good weather setup, or have you kind of been thrown a curveball here?
In all honesty, we've tested in that we thought, well, actually, do we do a proper wet setup? We haven't got a proper wet setup. We use the dry to do it, thinking that if it rains, it wouldn't have rained straight away. That's thrown us a little bit, but strategy-wise, we're all right. And looking at the times, everyone else seems to be thrown as well. So it'd be interesting if it gets really wet and the crossover from, because the inters do last there's a nice window for the inters, to be honest, quite a large window. But I wouldn't expect them to last more than about 8 laps. So we could see a lot of stops potentially, which changing whether you'd expect anyway, but it really could throw up an awful lot because people will have. You can't change a lot in the cars because everyone qualified and it was dry and everyone loaded nice dry setups for qualifying.
Well, this is it. I mean, what do we now figure out going into this one? Because obviously you guys have, we had the experience from China. Nobody knew just how long the wet tyres were going to last, and we're quite shocked at how quickly they wore. So is this going to be a race of opportunism from a couple of drivers, or are we really very much in the dark?
If you were down the back, yeah, you could go for the wets, but it's not like they last an awful lot longer. I think the operating window for these inters is looking pretty good. As you can see, most people, nearly everyone, I think, is out there testing the inters out now. A couple are trying the dries, interestingly, which is not going well by the looks of things. But then there is a point, I don't know what wetness we're at right now, but people are now starting to struggle with the inters by the looks of it, a few people. But it's interesting because we did see some people, particularly people like Norge and stuff, were running qualifying with very low wings. They were hitting 303 on the straights, which won't help them now it's raining, if they haven't, because you can't change your rear wing, for example, and stuff. So
no, indeed.
I don't think they want to in this weather anyway.
No.
We might want to add some wing on, is kind of what I was looking at. We've got Rudy is now doing his test on wets now, so he's obviously now thought it's got to that stage of what we were looking at. So we're still not 100% sure on that crossover point yet, so that's going to be the interesting one, really. And if you were, you know, there will be some gambles, and we could see it. It's why am I always back for these races?
Oh,
this should have been the one I missed, and I could have blamed it on it. But
well,
no,
absolutely. I mean, I want to throw in a little bit of a comment from Elise Skinner, who's watching on the feed. She writes, drinking game. Let's have a drink every time we see someone on the wrong tyres for the weather. Well, given that we're in warm-up already and several drivers are trying the dries, we'll probably be in A&E in about half an hour. So it's an interesting way that drivers have decided to have a look at, you know, how these guys are actually going to get grip out of the tyres. I mean, who do you think is going to end up as the winner today? The person who's the fastest or the person who's the smartest?
Oh, it's always the smartest in weather like this. It really is always the smartest. It could play into the hands of people that don't particularly manage their tyres, because nobody's going to be able to manage these tyres. So it could be a lot closer. The other one is if it looks like it's still raining quite heavily in warm-up. We were a little worried that if it had started to dry in warm-up and a drying line had formed, you'd have seen like we did last time, where people on the wrong side of the grid lost out heavily on the grid because they were on the wet side and that was dry. But it looks like we're just going to be wet all across, but it's still going to be slightly better on the racing line. So expect people to have good. We saw people last time who were 5th and 7th and stuff jumping right up to the front and knocking everybody who was on the even side down. So that'll be something to watch out for you guys on the grid.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you, Mike. I'll let you grab a seat in the best seat in the house on the pit wall, and we'll catch up with you hopefully at the end of the race, and hopefully you'll still be smiling.
Thanks very much. Enjoy, guys. I think you're going to need it.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to enjoy this one. I've got all of my equipment for settling into a good race. I have live timing screens, various different visual screens as well to look at onboards, championship standings. Raceview.nl is up. If you want to follow the live timing, of course, at home you can do on raceview.nl. It is going to be an absolute cracker, Josh. And once again, the unpredictability of GPVWC Super League creeps in again with another unknown factor. Rain at the Hungaroring. Pinch me, I think I might be dreaming.
Do you know what it is? I think our league admin, Will Panisi's decided he's going to channel his inner Bernie Eccleston in this awesome sprinklers.
Do you know what? This is going to be as close to 2006, Jenson Button's first victory, as it's possible to get. We may well see on this circuit a breakthrough victory, because let's be fair, when was the last time you saw rain at the Hungaroring? It was on that particular occasion in Formula One. It barely ever happens at Budapest. It's an incredibly picturesque circuit. I've actually been there in person 2 years ago at the Ferrari Challenge, where the guest of honours was Herr Vettel, where he was giving passenger rides in the 599XX. It's an amazing circuit. If you walk the track, you will be absolutely astonished at just how tough it is. It's so steep. This drop, I'm just watching Rudy Van Buren through turns 2 and 3. It's catastrophic just how steep it is, and you really don't get appreciation for it watching The Sims or watching on Formula One on television. You just don't get an appreciation for how difficult this circuit is, and people kind of underrate this place. They say, well, it's no overtaking, it's really dull and really bland. It is not. It is an absolutely incredible challenge, and the drivers have got to keep their wits about them when they've got to go 70 laps around this circuit, Josh. It really will bite them if they're not prepared.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting 1 minute and 32 laps in the way. I expect it's going to be near enough to a 2-hour race, this, as we've seen before this season. But yeah, the Hungaroring, it's a technical track, perhaps, rather than an overtaking circuit. It's more like Monaco in that regard. It's quite difficult to overtake, so you need a lot of technical prowess to really be able to succeed here. And, you know, it's tracks like this. We'll see the big guns like Morris, Van Buren start to succeed. Nick Rowland is third in warm-up, so it might self a mad at this race.
Absolutely, and let's not forget as well that this is the Hungaroring, therefore the walls are quite close. If drivers were to snap away and lose the car, they are cannon fodder against those barriers. We're going to see countless pit stops for tyre strategy, but we're probably going to see an en masse of pit stops for drivers losing it into the wall and getting damaged too.
Yeah, one mistake around here can really cost you. More certain circuits like Sochi, where there's lots of runoff, you know, the modern sort of Tilkodrome circuits. This is not one of those. This is an old-fashioned circuit. This is one of the old Garda tracks. You know, the barriers are closed. You make a mistake, you spin off here. There is not much protecting you from a near race-ending collision with the barriers.
Right, the warm-up has just ended, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're watching along on the stream, give us a prediction. Who's going to win? There's 22 drivers. It's the Hungaroring. It's wet. It's at a point in the season when Vodbull have for the first time looked vulnerable after Silverstone 2 weeks ago. Pick a winner. Genuinely, you could pick a name out of thin air, and today it wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea, because it is genuinely that unpredictable. The lottery that is the Hungarian Grand Prix in the Storm-Charged GPVWC Super League is not far from getting underway, and it's going to be an absolute cracker. So if you're on the stream, if you're on the live chat, do tell us who you think is going to be your race winner today, because it is genuinely tough to tell. I still have a bit of an eye for Rudy Van Buren, because last time in China they were particularly strong, but obviously they succumbed to Gergo Baldi. Baldi will now, of course, be starting in the mid-pack. No, he'll be starting at the back of the grid, of course, because of that back of the grid that starts. So he's not going to be a challenge too soon into the race, unless, of course, we get one of those crazy first laps, which we could well get, of course. But then you've got to take into account the man on the front of the grid, Lee Morris. Perhaps this is the race he'll finally get on the top spot.
Yeah, perhaps it is. I mean, I'm just seeing in the chat, actually, Lee Skinner saying Lee Morris for an upset win and title leader to crash out. Well, that would be very uncharacteristic of Van Buren, but he did have that graphic squeeze at Sochi, so if technical demons plague him, he could go out of the race. And Morris, you know, on perhaps to the obviously going to get the win. So many variables going to happen here. And of course, Chris Williamson saying, our race director, if you only use dry tyres, you have to use at least 2 or 3 dry compounds. If you use intermediate or wets during any point of the race, that rule no longer applies. So if it dries up, we can see teams go solely for ultra softs at the end of the race.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out, of course, you mentioned Rudy Van Buren. He has not finished lower than second this year in all the races that he has finished. Now, of course, he was classified in Sochi as 17th position, because although he retired from the race with that game crash, unfortunately, it ruined his chances of victory. But he was classified as a finisher because he had completed 90% of the race distance. So he has technically finished every single race this year, but when he has actually been on the track circulating, he has never finished lower than second. That is going to be an interesting factor coming into this one, where it could all change. This could be his Achilles heel. Now, Jeff Fournier has asked, what percentage is Rudy's engine? Now, Josh, you've got the answer to that.
I do. His engine coming into this is, I believe, 24% remaining, so he's not got much on it. In fact, the 14 car has 22. I was actually slightly wrong there, so he's actually... Rudy Van Buren only has 22%. That's not much. It should last until the end of the race, I believe, but it could cause a problem, because he's going to be underpowered compared to Capit. He's going to be underpowered compared to the likes of Morris. He's going to struggle with that underpowered and worn engine, and it could blow up on him. But of course, you know, it's going to be a case of waiting and seeing as the drivers line up on the grid. The rain, of course, does take a little while to kick in and off attitude, but it will be back for the start of the race.
Yes, indeed. So it's going to be an interesting one. Crack open a cold one, and I hope you've got some chips and dips, because this is going to be one heck of a show, ladies and gentlemen. 17 seconds until the rolling lap begins, and we've got so many different factors. Rudy Van Buren's lead going into this one is just over 50 points. If it's ever going to change, then it is today, as the rain returns for the start of the rolling lap. Ladies and gentlemen, pin back your ears, hang on to something, and get ready for one of the most spectacular GPVWC Super League races you're ever going to see. Lee Morris on pole position in the Mad Cape Racing Team car, number 62, leads us off, with Rudy Van Buren in the Vodbull Racing car, championship leader in second, alongside him on the front row of the grid. Risto Capit is third in the second of the Vodbull cars, with David Fidek, reigning champion in the Nordian Racing car, fourth position on the starting grid. Then it's David Francic in the Street Fighter Racing Systems car in fifth position on the starting grid. Alex Cooper in the Hawkeye lines up sixth place in car number 2. On the fourth row, it's the second Mad Cape of Nick Rowland. He lies in seventh on the grid, alongside the first of the Kerno Sport cars, Bart de Vos, in eighth position. Ben Schubenek, his teammate, lines up in ninth position on the grid, and joining him on row 5 in the first of the Red Archer VRTs is the number 21 of Michael Ayres. Heading out of the top 10 in 11th position is his teammate Thomas Hinds, the Australian, in car number 6. Alongside him is the Hawkeye Racing number 3 of Tobias Olsen in 12th. Maurice Bracan in the Adonis Engineering car is 13th on the grid. Alongside him is the new boy for Green Stripes in an astonishing 14th place. It's Dan Lovett. His teammate Gerrit de Vries in the other Green Stripes car is 15th. What a great qualifying for them. Storm Racing's Menno Klont lines up 16th on the starting grid, with his teammate Mike Quint in 17th. Great to see the Storm Racing cars back for this one. Fran Lopez will line up 18th position in the Adonis cars. He will surely be a thunderbolt from there, but so too will the man in 19th on the grid, Florian Gaia, in the Nordian car. Won at Silverstone last time out. Gergo Baldi alongside him on the grid. Won the last time it rained in the GPVWC Super League back in China in April. From the 10th row, both of those will threaten. Daniel Sharanku is going to start from 21st on the grid as well. Behind him, his teammate, and then Ben Horrell takes up the 22nd position on the starting grid in the Street Fighter car. Interesting to note, though, it's been a split strategy on tyres, Josh. Some of the leaders going a different way to everybody else.
Yes, I see Maurice Van Buren, Capit, Fidek all going intermediate, and then Francic and Cooper, wet tyres, Rowland's on the inters, De Vos on the wets, as is the Panic, as is Ayres. So top 10 are split in regards to strategy. But if I was going to pick a winner for this race, we say it's a lottery. You know what? I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to say race win 2 for number 2. I'm going to go for Alex Cooper.
Okay, it's an interesting one. Also worth pointing out that for the 10th row of the grid, Florian Gaia is on inters, Gergo Baldi is on wets, but his teammate Sharanku is on inters. This is going to be such a complex battle. Who is going to win the Hungarian Grand Prix in the Storm-Charged GPVWC Super League? It is going to be such a difficult one as the cars now line up in position on the grid. Ben Horrell is now in position at the back of the grid, so we're getting ready to go. It's going to be a very exciting run to that first corner. The lights come on. Morris on one side, Van Buren on the other. Wait for it. Go! Great start from Van Buren. He's going to beat Morris off the line. So too is Risto Capit. If they keep the speed up, they work their way through the spray. And Risto Capit's got an absolute flyer. He's beaten his teammate off the line. And so now Risto Capit leads in the first corner unless Morris can hold him to the outside line. No, Risto Capit squirrels, but he leads the race. Morris second from Van Buren. Francic and Fidek side by side from Cooper, Roland, Bart de Bosch and Tobias Olsen. A cracking start from Lopez, already up at the 13th. Baldi's up on these 3 places as well. Gaia's in there. It's all pretty clean considering it's an absolute sodden racetrack.
Nick Rowland's putting all of his Super League experience into play here. He's already gotten past Cooper for 6th place, and the Englishman is flying. He's had great success in the past. He seems to be coming back into his element here at this first start of the Hungrary. He chases down the reigning champion, fighting for 5th in the moment, but a great start from Nick Rowland.
Well, Elise Skinner is disappointed. I'm calling a 4-car pile-up in turn 1. Nothing of the like. The standards of driving. Oh! That's Olsen. Olsen's gone around at the chicane.
Yeah, Tobias Olsen, he was just coming into the chicane there. He'd been chasing Cooper and Rowland at the time, and then he just, it was Ben Stepanek. I don't know what, we've lost one of the, we lost Sharanku. Sharanku's gone as well. Sharanku's gone as well on the following corner in the Valters Automotive car. He spins down to 22nd. So Capit leads it. Morris second from Van Buren. Francic is fourth from Fidek. Roland, Cooper, Zubanek. Lopez is 9th, would you believe, ahead of Bart de Bosch. Well, that's where we call him the pocket rocket. Fran Lopez is absolutely stormed after the start. He's under threat from De Vos, though, the brilliant Belgian, giving Jason Lopez, getting all sorts of fishtailing. That's not going to help him into the final 10, and De Vos could line up an attack, perhaps. But it's definitely been a very good start. Roland chasing, fighting for 5th. Really close to the back bumper of the Englishman. It really is an all-English affair here, going into turn 1. Roland gets a break, but he's overshot it, and Fidek will get the cut back.
Absolutely brilliant there from Fidek as he takes over that 5th position with Roland and Cooper breathing down his neck as they come out of turn 1. Capit in the lead from Morris, Van Buren, Francic, Fidek and Roland. Maybe this is going to be the first time this year that Risto Capit is going to have it all his own way. It's an incredible start to this race for several drivers in the field as well. We need to keep an eye on them as Tobias Olsen has already made his way back up into 17th position, having got past Ben Horrell. Florian Gaia's having a nightmare of a time. He's still only down in 20th position, whereas Gergo Baldi is storming through up into 14th position now. Keep an eye on Baldi.
It really is a really sort of danger man in this race at the moment. He's got Ayres and Quint within his sights. Quint, in fact, has just had a bit of an off there. This could let Ayres through. He goes down the outside. That wasn't going to work, Michael. And he can lose track position because now you're in the gravel, mate. That's not worked at all. Baldi's going to find himself on the offensive now on Quint. That has not worked out for Ayres as he now has to rejoin the track, and he does so, but he's lost it. He's gone down to 20th. That's not helped him as Dan Lovett's had a nightmare start. He's going off left, right and centre down in last place in that green stripes.
So Baldi is now where he originally qualified for this race. On the first lap and a half, he has made up all the ground he lost from that penalty. That is how good a driver the Hungarian is on home soil. Gergo Baldi right up behind Mike Quint. He'll know this circuit like the back of his hand. It's his national stadium circuit. This absolutely incredible Colosseum of speed is Gergo Baldi's home turf, and he will want the win here, and he's got nothing to lose now because he's already lost out. A big squirrel off the curb from Mike Quint, and this is where Baldi is going to get the move. Quint is going to make him work for it. Baldi's going to throw it to the outside. He'll have a tiny bit more grip to the inside line as he gets back on the undercut, but Mike Quint is going to hold him to it. So of all of the drivers he's had to work his way through, Mike Quint is going to be the first real challenge for Baldi. He now cuts back. Great defending this from Mike Quint. He has reeled it in, Gergo Baldi, but he's really struggling to get through.
I tell you this, Jake, another spanner in the works has been thrown. It looks like the rain stopped.
Yeah, the rain has stopped at exactly the wrong moment, really, because these guys are going to find that within about a lap and a half, probably not even that much, that their tyres are going to lose grip so quickly because the air temperature is 27 degrees, so the track is going to dry incredibly quickly. Oh!
Dearie me, Gerrit de Vries has had a big off there. I don't know what's happened to the Dutchman, but I just saw him flying off the track. Going out, I think, into the lane. It was a left-hander. Gaia had gotten through. De Vries slotted under braking and then whacked Gaia. So it was a bit of a backmarker incident. Well, not a backmarker incident. Gaia was always there, but De Vries lost it and then just ploughed straight onwards.
Florian Gaia is having an absolute nightmare of a race from down at the back of the grid. Now, I'm just watching the leaders. Risto Capit is really struggling for grip. Morris and Van Buren are closing up. Fastest man on the racetrack at the moment is Van Buren. He did a 1:36.8 last time. Morris and Van Buren are reeling in Risto Capit. The Estonian has caught us all off guard here with that cracking start off the line. But now it is Van Buren who is the fastest again. He's broken into the 1:35s, the first man to do so. But with the rain having stopped, it is now going to dry the circuit very quickly indeed. Okay, the rain was out for a long time, but we're going to have at least 5 laps of really uncertain driving from the cars out there as they struggle to try and keep these tyres as cool as possible. But this has completely changed the strategy, because now they're going to have to revert back to their original dry strategy if the rain stays away, but they're going to have to do so cautiously. It's going to throw a real, it's going to be a really difficult challenge for them in this 4th lap of the race we're on now, as now the team managers are having to think, when do we pit them? When do we make the switch?
Yeah, I tell you what, Dan Lovett's struggling. He's on the softs. I don't know why he's starting on the slicks in this rain conditions, but that's why Lovett's standing. He's spun again coming out of this turn here, and he's kept it stationary. That's actually the best thing he can do. He keeps them predictable, keeps them safe. He's not moving till everyone is out the way. That is sensible stuff from Lovett. But you've got to come in now and at least change in the stopgap to Inas, because he's losing too much time at the moment.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's an opposite Marcus Winkelhock, and it didn't work, did it? So problems there for Dan Lovett as he now spin turns the car, gets himself back underway again, but the leaders are coming through to the pits. Anybody pitting? Oh, Risto Capit nearly losing the car altogether on the exit of turn 15, and Morris is gone!
Morris has lost it. He's gone off there at the final turn. Van Buren through. Vodbull 1-2. Normal service resumed. I think Van Buren got a bit squiggly as well, but nothing like Lee Morris, who just coming into the final turn there. Oh, he just must have locked the rears or something, because he just went kind of half straight on. The back end just disagreed completely with Morris's instructions, and he's lost the place.
Well, now nobody beats up on Lee Morris harder than Lee Morris. He's going to be kicking himself for that one, but he's got to forget about it. He's just got to get back on with the job. Meanwhile, further back, Baldi is still hassling Mike Quinn. He's braked very late into the braking zone for turn 1, hoping to get the cut back on the inside line. As Quinn squirrels, the car is all over the place as Baldi now tries to make the move into turn 2. He will know more than most drivers where the grip is. He throws it to the inside. Mike Quinn's trying to give him space. Baldi has to back out of it. The back end steps out for Mike Quinn. Somehow he keeps the car pointing in the right direction. Brilliant racing for both of them.
This is great racing indeed. Baldi, Quint, Clon, this 3-car, 4-car, 5-car if you count Olsen train. Really kicking up Hins wants to go with Baldi. It's all really in this train at the moment. Loads of great stuff going on. But we've got another train up front. Frančić, Fidek, Roland, 4, 5 and 6, all within a second of each other. And Roland is just putting more and more pressure on the reigning champion by the second.
Yeah, we've just had Maurice Brackhound go off the circuit in front of Ben Horrell, Michael Ayres and Florian Gaia. That's a tasty little battle as well, down in 16th position as Dan Lovett is into the pits again. Yeah, I don't think soft tyres were a good call on this particular occasion there, Dan, but you live and learn. Risto Capit has got himself back underway again. He was purple in the first sector, purple in the second. He's going to get the fastest lap of the race if he's got this last sector tied up. And as a result of losing the pressure from Lee Morris, look at that, a 1:34.0. That's how quickly the track is drying.
Yeah, must be getting right into this. We'll probably see a dry line start to form in parts of the second scene. I think it already is through turn 1, but you'll start to see the track dry out, and when it gets wide enough, people will start thinking about...
Fidek and Frančić. Fidek's going to make the move into 4th position. Roland coming around the outside as well. Frančić is going to try and keep his foot in and keeps the place, but David Fidek through into 4th position. That's critical at this point of the race. He needed to establish himself at the front of that queue as Frančić and Roland dice for position. They tag wheels, and Roland somehow keeps the car pointing in the right direction. I thought he'd be a goner for sure on the outside line of turn 2, but Fidek has left them napping. This is brilliant work from David Fidek. He's not a bad bet for the victory here today either.
Yeah, Fidek, an equal good bet for the victory too. It was Roland actually who went off into turn 3. Then he tried to go to the outside of Frančić. There wasn't actually contact between the two. Frančić went wide on his own accord. Roland just joined him. But it was close between the two of them, but crucial for Fidek as the drying line does start to appear at the sector 2. It's crucial Fidek there, and you can't count him out. You cannot car out car 1.
And look who's behind Cooper. That's Fran Lopez. Lopez is up to 8th position. He's absolutely storming through this field, right on the back now of Alex Cooper, as he makes an impression to try and get himself up towards the top 6. That man started 18th on the grid, and he's now up in P8. This is the Fran Lopez we love to see, because he really does throw caution to the winds, no holds barred. He makes overtaking moves, but he's patient in the rain. In the dry, he seems to go to pieces when the opportunity opens up. In the rain, he's very good at playing the percentages and going for the moves and judging and assessing the risk. He's really on it at the moment.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I didn't know the rest of the cars were made out of butter, and Fran Lopez was a hot knife. He's slicing through them really well here, but he's doing a stunning job. This is what we love to see from Lopez, just calculated driving in the wet. He just doesn't seem to be stoppable by anyone. He's already catching up to Cooper and Frančić, and he could join this battle as well.
So Jeff Fournier just making a point. Top 3. Fidek, Roland, Brakan, Gaia, Sharanko and De Vries are all on inters, everybody else on wets, and that just goes to show now that that was actually the right call, because now the track is dry. Look how quickly it's drying for the leader, Risto Capit. Yes, there's still a lot of spray, but that dry line is forming quickly and the sun is out properly now, so I reckon we're going to get a bone dry circuit within 15 laps.
Our camera operator here, Argo, just pointed out to me that the people on medium tyres are being in the wet everywhere. Now, I don't see anyone on mediums at the moment, but I imagine, maybe if it's the inters that he meant, they are being beaten the wet tyres everywhere. But if the dry line gets thick enough, then it probably is, yeah, he said inters. So, you know, right now, intermediates are the ones to be on. But I imagine when that dry line gets wide enough, it'll be time for the slick tyres if you can stay on it.
So it's really interesting, isn't it? The drivers that decided to opt for inters, all 4 of the leaders, thinking that that might have been the way to go, and they've been proven absolutely spot on. Now, who's that's battling there with Fran Lopez? That's Bart de Vos, having closed up into 9th position. Then we've got Schubenek in 10th, then Klont, Thomas Hens, Maurice Brakan. Florian Guy's finally on the move, up to 14th now. Oh, he's gone way too far into turn 14.
Oh,
somehow he catches the car before it hits anything, but that was a big wake-up call. And again, he's really struggling on those inters, but he is on the faster tyre, it has to be said. Eyes in 15th place, then Ben Horrell, Dan Sharanko in 17th from Quint, Baldi, Olsen, De Vries, and Lovett. And would you believe it, although Dan Lovett has been lapped for the 2nd time, nobody is out of the race yet. 10% gone.
Well, I mean, with this rain, perhaps it's a surprise. You would have thought it would have caught someone off guard. Thomas Hensing going on to intermediates. Michael Ayres comes into the pits as well, as did Ben Horrell, also on to Inters. I think people realising it must be Inters' time. Alex Cooper, though, is in, and he's on the full wets.
Yeah, this is interesting because, of course, it's not the time to go on to dry tyres yet in any way, shape or form. But the drivers really needed to be second-guessing how long they could choose to stay out because the circuit is drying ridiculously quickly. The Kirky Life says, I think we could see softs now. It's worth the risk for the wet runners. Well, I'm not sure it is just yet because although the times are tumbling, there's too many wet patches on the dry line that are actually going to cost you very, very dearly indeed, especially in some of the faster corners at the far end of the circuit. As off goes Florian Gaia. Florian Guyer's gone off on the chicane.
Geier off again. He's just not having his own race here, the German. And, well, yeah, he's just into the chicane. Lost it on his own accord. Didn't hit anyone. Just had problems there. Really bad for Geier. As Sharanko spins as well. He's going to get a place as a result there, Florian. But I see what James Kirk's saying in the comments there. Of course, I've commented along him for a long side here at GPVWC. I've commented on it before. He knows his stuff, and he has a point for the guys at the back who don't have anything to lose. You know, the guys like Dan Lovett, like Gerrit De Vries, like Daniel Sharanko. Those guys in the back don't have anything to lose by going out the subs at this point. It might be worth it as Risto Capit, I believe, is coming in the pits.
Frančić is in. Bart de Vos is in. Yeah, Risto Capit has had a pit stop and come back out again. So Capit has rejoined in front of Fidek. Now, what compounds is he on there?
Fidek is on the Inters as he comes out of the pits. He is going to remain on probably the optimal tyre choice at the moment. We've got Klont and Gaia, and of course, Klont going on to the Inters. Gaia, I don't know what Florian's doing, but he's coming in off the Inters. I assume to go on to another set of Inters. Yeah, he is. No change there. So really is the tyre to be on at the moment. Yeah,
Capit's still on Inters. Interestingly there, Alex Cooper, as you said there, Josh, made the switch to wets. Interesting comment from Nero Tiberius. Did Cooper forget to switch to inters? It's an interesting point, though, because you wouldn't really go for wets at this point if you could possibly help it. You'd go on to the intermediates, because as the circuit is getting ridiculously fast, Looking at the lap times we've got out on the circuit, they're in the 132s now. Rudy Van Buren, having taken the lead of the race, has just done a 132.625. That is ridiculously quick compared to what we have. Now he's in the 131s, so it is a matter of time. As Lee Morris pits, no, surely this has got to be for Inters.
Oh, he's missed his pit box a bit. He's got reversed into it. It's doable in the wet as he comes in. Yep, more Inters for Morris. He's going to lose a bit of time because of missing the pit box, but not too much because he caught it. And while Roland, his own teammate, is going to get through, but that's not good for Lee Morris either way.
No, he's going to get out a long, long way behind Risto Kappa. He really wanted to be right behind him, but that's how much time he's lost, not just in the incident going off, but also having that problem in the pit. So Lee Morris is now, I would think, net 4th position, because looking at where he is on the circuit, I don't think it's going to be too long before Fidek can make the pit stop for Inters and get out in front of Lee Morris. So I think Fidek might have just got himself a crack at 3rd position there.
He might have played this fully well, and well, this could be great for the reigning champion. He knows he's still very, very, very intelligent driver, as we've seen. You know, and he says to us, keeps saying he's better at the end of the season, better comes to the end of the season. So maybe tracks like Hungary where we really start to get some good results.
So Van Buren leads the way. He's still on that original set of tyres. And again, Rudy Van Buren proving to be the class of the field when it comes to making tyres last. Is he going to pit at the end of this lap? We are on lap 10. And no, he keeps going. So maybe we're going to see a new low record of pit stops for Rudy Van Buren this year, because we know they've had more pit stops than I have socks in my drawer over the course of one race. So Rudy Van Buren now coming down the straight down to the first corner. Up towards the... Now, who's that he's going to come up to lap? That's Daniel Sharanku into the pits.
He's not making it easy. He's on the super softs!
Yes, Sharanko has decided... Well, Sharanko has decided, you know what? I'm already down at the back of the grid. Let's just give it a try. And he's actually working. Look, he's doing all of the legwork for his teammate, Gergo Baldi. So Sharanko has decided to play the team card.
Though.
He can't get any grip out of the car. This is far too early to be on Supersofts, Daniel. Far too early.
This is the thing. He has to stay on the dry line. If he can't stay on the dry line, he's going to aquaplane everywhere. There is no tread on those slicks, so he's got to try and stay on the dry line, which is going to slow him down, because if he goes a millimetre off, it's going to be absolute aquaplane city for him.
Yeah, but look, there's too much water, even on the dry line. There's just too much spray coming off the car. There's no way it is time. As Fran Lopez comes into the pits, looks like he has managed to get his pits. He's made his mark okay. Comes out of the pits. Now he'll rejoin just in behind.
Oh, he's on softs.
No. Surely it's too early.
They think it must be. They must think it's time. They must think it's time, because obviously we've seen Sharanko, now we've seen Open 17. Does he collide with Gaia? Well, now he's got a massive fishtail. I just don't see it. But obviously, some drivers think it's the case, as we saw James Kirk saying. They think they've got nothing to lose. Mike Quint's doing it. He's gone on front wing, but he's going on the softs.
Well, Cabot has just done a 130.9, so we are now getting towards the 120s, but I just don't think there's enough of a dry line. There's definitely a dry line there, but I think it's too soon to be going on to soft tyres. It's just too soon in the day. We need to wait at least another 3-4 laps to have the confidence in the car. There's still enough standing water off the racing line.
Oh, Sharanko!
Oh, no!
He just got rear-ended by Morris. He was slow coming out of the pits there because he'd missed it. He slid out of the pits after trying to go in. And he come into the way of Morris. Morris was an absolute passenger in that one. Sharanko was just slid off the way. Morris couldn't have slowed it down. And it was because Daniel Sharanko missed the pits because of the single tyres he was on. Now Morris has got to be out of the contention of a win.
Yeah, Lee Morris is now out of contention for the victory. I can't see him getting this back, especially with the Vodbull freight train once again in operation. So Lee Morris is definitely out of contention for the victory now. This is an absolute disaster. And Lee Morris's morale must be right at the foot of his boots right now. This is absolutely disastrous when we thought he had all of the credentials to win this one. Now, I'm just watching the leaders as they come through. They're still incredible on pace. But look, even on the dry line, Risto Kappa and Rudy Van Buren are still kicking up masses of spray and plumes of water behind them. I just don't see that this is the right time for softs yet. It's still too wet. Now, of course, they're going to get a lot more grip out of the tyres on the drying track, but I don't think now is the time. They've got to wait at least 4 laps before the track really dries out, which it will do quickly, but I've noticed that it's still about 27 degrees. There's not a lot of wind around the area, so it's not pushing the water off the circuit. They can still keep these inters and these wets going for a good time, especially if the tyres do start to get hot. They can just come slightly off the racing line, cool the tyres down on the massive standing water that's still off the racing line. So I don't think it's the time for slick tyres yet. We are getting there for definite, but it's not ready yet.
It's a bit of a nightmare race for Francic and DeVos. They're held up behind Cooper, who's on wets. Francic tried to go for there, but there was no room. And Cooper really actually holding these guys up on his full wets. He's not gaining on the cars ahead, but he's not losing position to the car behind. So this is an ideal place for Cooper. He's holding this train behind, and it's great for Thomas Hinds, who's gaining now on Francic and DeVos.
Well, absolutely. This is the problem now that Cooper has. Because he didn't change to intermediates, there's only so much he can do to cool those tyres off the racing line. And when he's on the racing line, which is the faster part of the circuit, there's just so much wheel spin from the car as Francic tries. Enough of this. I've got to get through. And he makes it stick on the curbs, but Cooper is back on the wet racing line. Don't even think about it, Bucko. Here comes Bart de Vos now up the inside of Francic. More traction on the wet part of the circuit for Cooper, and that's how he gets through. Bart is to the left of Francic now, trying to carry the speed right round the outside of turn 3. This is magnificent.
Where does this come from? When Hinds wants to go at DeVos now, is he's going to try and have a look where he can. But this is really just about Francic being pressured into it about Ross. Quinn's gone off the track and had an incident somewhere along the line.
Oh, Mike Quinn's got big damage. Mike Quinn has big damage as well. Oh, the rear wing has come off the car.
That might be a retirement. Then we saw Zapanic, sorry, it wasn't Zapanic, but Sharanku retired with similar reasons.
Well, that's a Formula Ford car in essence now, isn't it? No rear wing, no front wing. He is absolutely ridiculous in terms of what grip he's got on the car now. Even on the wet surface, that car is going to be absolutely useless on wet tyres with no front or rear wing. Oh dear, that is a disaster.
Oh,
now,
here we go. Cooper and Francic having a battle as well in the final couple of corners. And, oh, David Francic tried to go for there, didn't work. Oh, this is the thing, though, Jake. The more he goes for Alex Cooper ahead of them, the more Bart de Vos is going to get a chance at him. So maybe he just wants to tuck in and accept the fact he's in a train. But Hinds is having to go to de Vos, so that's some consolation. But the question is, Cooper finally comes in.
Yeah, Cooper makes the pit stop, and as we shift focus, I want to look back to the two leaders in the VOD balls, because Rudy Van Buren's lap times are astonishing in comparison to his teammates. Van Buren has just done a 1:33.0. That is about 7 seconds away from the best lap we've had in the last few minutes, whereas... because we've had a push towards the 129s in this race now, haven't we? We haven't quite got there, but we're close. Whereas Risto Capit is in the 1:31.0s. Lee Morris, driving angry, has just done a 1:30.430. So he is actually looking likely to make up a lot of ground. But Rudy Van Buren is losing about 2 seconds a lap to his teammate Risto Capit. Surely he's got to make the pit stop. He doesn't. He keeps going. What are they doing?
I don't know. The strategy is very interesting indeed. Maybe Rudy just thinks he's got it. I don't know, but he's hemorrhaging time to Cabot here. And I know what it is. Argo Tida says he's very probably waiting until it's dry enough for dries. He's trying to no stop till then, but he's hemorrhaging time to Cabot. Maybe it would have been better just to stop.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the percentages of this, he really should have made the switch to intermediates, because he's then got the problem, because the critical moment when it does become available for dries is he's on very, very worn tyres. They're almost beyond their life now, and I still don't think that it's dry enough yet on the dry line to go for softs. I still don't think we're there. We've got another couple of laps at least, but this is going to be a fine moment in the race for Rudy Van Buren. He's got to try and keep up with the pace of his teammate Risto Capit. He's going to put him under pressure. I can see Capit winning this one. He seems to have called it right on the strategy so far. Feidik is third. Roland is in fourth position. He's having a great race, actually, now that things have settled down. Francic is fifth. De Vos is sixth. From Hinds, Morris fighting back to 8th place. Schupanek is in 9th position. Rakan is in 10th. Now, Gergo Baldi has just come out of the pits a lap down. What an absolute nightmare this is for the Valters Automotive team.
Yeah, absolute nightmare race for them. But as we say, great race for Roland, and former race winner in Super League. He really was one of the big guns when he competed full time. Always one to be reckoned with. Maybe this is going to be a sort of Lazarus moment for him, where he can come back and get another great result. Because we say, immensely talented driver, championship contender on his best days. But, you know, R-Factor 2 coming back now shows he hasn't lost it.
Van Buren in. Van Buren into the pits.
Crucially,
okay,
yes.
He has decided that this is the time. Now, let me think about this for a moment. If he makes the switch to soft tyres, he is actually now going to be the benchmark for everybody else.
He stayed on in us.
Yeah, I think that's a very silly mistake there from Rudy. He should have pitted earlier for a fresh set, because now he's actually in danger of losing this race to his own teammate, Risto Capit. Now, you may think it doesn't really matter too much if he loses the win to his teammate, but he's been very, very dictatorial in terms of the way he's gone about it, and there's been a slight bit of tension. Nothing major, but it could turn into something if Rudy van Buren has to cut off his nose to spite his face and lose a victory to Risto Capit here. Capit has absolutely called the strategy right by staying out longer on the intermediate tyres, because he's now on a faster set of rubber. They're warmer. They're actually going to be better grip, because now I think Rudy van Buren staying on the intermediates now has cost himself a bit of a problem, because now the track is really going to dry, particularly quickly. It's got to the point where now it is the tipping point. But it wasn't ready. It wasn't ready for softs, but it wasn't ready for a new set of inters either. He needed to have stayed out on an older set. I'm not sure Rudy van Buren's got this right.
Well, in regards to the whole Capit Van Buren thing, I think Rudy's a sensible driver. He's more than happy to play the long game. He's got a very healthy championship lead, and he'll understand that, you know, it's not really worth going for Capit in order to potentially lose it. But, you know, I reckon Rudy and Risto, you know, they know each other. I reckon Rudy, if he knows that Bristo's got this in the bag and he knows the second place will keep his championship lead, I don't think he's going to push for it. We know he loves winning. But, you know, I think he's smart in that sense. But as you say, coming in now, when it's starting to tip over the dry weather, this is not exactly what he's going to want him to do, because he's come in too late. He's had the wear on the tyres. Now he's paying the price for it in terms of overall pace. As well, Ben Horwell and Alex Cooper are having a bit of a scrap here for 12th. Very close between the two of them. Cooper, of course, on those new intermediates, having just switched over, but Horwell's not making life easy for him. Cooper down the outside, then the inside, side by side all this time. They've not stopped. Cooper goes wide though, but he doesn't let Horwell go. They're still going.
How have they not properly hit each other and gone to the scene of the accident? That is incredible driving from both Cooper and Horwell. I've noticed something else. Not only is Baldi now a lap down, having made a pit stop, so too Fran Lopez. I didn't see what happened to Fran. So problems there for Fran Lopez. Now, I have a feeling that we are just 2 laps away from soft tyres. I think it's only 2 laps now, because Capit is pushing quite hard out there. Some may even decide it's this lap.
You say soft, that's what Lopez is on now. That's maybe why. He's coming maybe 2 laps too early, but he's on the softs now, so he'll be able to capitalise when it is time for them. Maybe Franz thought now is the time to get out of those tyres. Don't know what Risto Capit's going to do, but he's pushing hard. He's trying to get ahead of Van Buren as much as he can here. And, well, we'll have to see what the Estonian can do. Is he on course for his first race win of the season?
Time to watch Capit. He misses the pit, so I think he's got 1 more lap to do before he can make the switch for softs. And now, I do think it is a better time for it. Chris Shepherd writes, the line is way too narrow for slick tyres. That's a good point, actually. That's a very fair point from Chris, because while the dry line is properly right for slick tyres, I think just about nowish, Chris makes a very valid point, because there's only a couple of millimetres margin for error. They need to wait maybe a couple more laps if they want to be absolutely certain, and maybe just push the intermediates a little bit further off that drying line, just to make it a little bit easier for everybody when they actually start. Look, that's exactly what Risto Capit is doing. He's actually bringing the car slightly further off the racing line to make it a little bit easier for himself when he does make that switch to dry tyres. He's widening the dry line, and that's what everybody needs to be doing at the moment, is giving themselves a better chance of getting it right when they make the switch to softs, because that switch is so critical now.
It is. I mean, Capit, the way he's doing
Morris
this is brilliant.
Sorry, Morris in. Now, this is critical.
Yep.
What's he going to do?
He's going to... Oh, he's had problems getting in his box again. He's overshot it again. But this time he's on super softs.
Yeah, Lee, you've got to make the switch to dry tyres now. There's no other way to save your race now. You've just got to make the switch to dries and hope that it's the right call.
Yeah, maybe this is how the bacon is going to be saved for Lee Morris, but we'll have to see exactly what happens. I mean, I'm intrigued to see if Capit comes in this time around, but he's going to hug the inside of the second last corner. What's his Estonian going to do? He's not coming in. He is coming in. He's sighting us out there, but he's come into the pits now. Yeah. And he's decided that he's going to get off those inters onto maybe more inters on the slicks. I don't know.
I can see him going for slicks here. I think they're going to respond to Morris. I can see them responding to Morris. Morris is the quickest man on 1 lap around the Hungrary ring. He set the fastest lap of the race not long ago. If he thinks he's ready for slicks, yeah, they're all going for slicks. This is the moment as far as they're concerned. But Jeff Fournier says it's way too early for slicks. The pit lane is too wet. So that's an interesting indicator, because if the pit lane isn't drying quickly enough, then you've got to say to a certain extent, okay, the racing line is dry, but as Chris Shepherd has already pointed out, The wet line is still quite large. The dry line is very narrow. They're having to take the risk. Now, Rudy Van Buren is left out in front. This is going to be interesting because Rudy Van Buren can spend a little bit more time pushing like crazy on the inters. Roland is in. Now, he's in for soft tyres as well. Finet goes through. He's gone for ultras. Nick Roland has decided to be incredibly brave.
I think he just wants some time here. I think he's going to go for the maximum stop strategy. But Roland, let's see what Nick can do as he exits the pits here. Well, interesting stuff from him. You know, obviously thinks he knows what he's doing. And with the experience behind him, I wouldn't say that he doesn't know what he's doing. But it's an interesting choice for sure. This race is getting spicy now. So grab me Tabasco sauce.
Risto Capit, having had his pit stop, is now just 9 seconds behind Rudy Van Buren. He came out of the pits about 15 seconds behind him. So I think Risto's right. This is the right moment for slick tyres. You've got to be brave and you've got to be absolutely perfect on that racing line to do it. But what's Rudy Van Buren going to do? Obviously, Risto will be reporting back to the team boss, Mike Pittman, who came on the wire just before we went racing in the warm-up. He will be telling him, look, it's absolutely fine. I've got good grip. I've got good speed. What are his lap times? Purple sector for Capit in the first lap out of the pits, as pointed out by Vopos. Absolutely brilliant. Chris Shepherd, though, does point out no overtaking, that's for sure.
Yeah, perhaps so. Capit just comes across the line there. Obviously, it's a green second sector. Purple first sector, though, for Van Buren. So it's touch and go at the moment. I think there is not much in it. Van Buren's going faster than he ever has done, as is Risto. So it would really be the first sector that tells it, because he was only a 10th down in the last was Risto.
Yeah, we're in the 128s. That's a very significant sign. And that's, for me, an indicator that that's what we should be on now. So Van Buren is out on the lead of the race, still on the intermediate tyres. His teammate, Risto Capit, has gone for softs and is closing in on him. Now, Van Buren just did a purple first sector, I should point out, a 30.4, compared to Risto on a 30.5. Oh, Capit's gone off! Capit's gone off! Capit has gone off at turn 5!
I knew it was too early. There's not enough dry line. That's the thing. There isn't enough of it. He just went onto the wet. Yeah, he hit the wet again, understeered off. And that's a front wing gong for Capit. I knew. That's the thing. You got to be ultra confident. You can't run into issues like that. Capit has just lost this race on his own mistake, unfortunately. And I knew he should have stayed. I knew he should have stayed on those inters. But Van Buren's probably got this now.
Well, hang on a minute, because this could play into the hands of the man who's now crept up in a second position. David Fidek is still there, only 17 seconds back from Rudy Van Buren. If he calls these conditions better than Rudy does, maybe David Fidek is going to win his first race of the season. It will be very interesting to see what the Nordian driver and reigning world champion, don't forget, could do to chip away at Rudy Van Buren's advantage.
No. Capit almost missed the pit lane there, but he's coming. And
he's spun again.
Oh, I tell you this, Risto Capit does not make mistakes. So this is a shocker to see him make a mistake. He's iron, solid consistency, so much like David Fidek in that respect. But it is far and few between when the machine that is Risto Capit makes a mistake. Now he's made one. I don't know what he's going to do from here. Maybe he's just going to go for a hard tyre compound. They brought the mediums to this race, remember? No, I think he's going to stay on the supers.
Capit's in, Francis is in, DeVos is in. Lee Morris, by the way, is going green in the second sector. He's just at a 31.0 in the sector, so about the same sort of pace that Capit was on. So it's difficult to know if they've got this right or not, because Lee Morris hasn't gone off the circuit. He's managed to keep it going, and he now, crucially, is back in front of Risto Capit. So all that time Lee Morris lost has now been brought back because Risto Capit is back in the pits. But Capit is staying on the soft tyres. He's going with it.
Blimey, I saw a street fight. I crashed into someone else in the pits there, just on the replay on the stream. I don't know what happened there. It looked like it was Ben Howell who got involved. I'm going to have to go back and investigate that, because it might not have been more. It might have been Frančić. Yeah, it was Frančić actually coming out of the. He had an incident in the pits with somebody there. David Frančić. Oh, he came in while the boss was coming out. He got tipped and then he went into the back of Capit. So 3 cars hit each other in the pit lane.
I told you this race was going to get interesting. Can I just call the top 6 at this point? Rudy Van Buren leads the race to David Fidek by 21 seconds. Cooper is 3rd. In 4th position is Maurice Bracan. Can you believe that? Maurice Bracan in the Adonis engineering car is in P4, with Tobias Olsen in 5th position. Lee Morris is chasing him down and closing in rapidly. But Maurice Bracan, through all of that, is in P4. Talk about hero.
I know, yeah. Maurice Brackon, props to him, man. I've always said he was a talented Super Cup driver. Now he's coming to Super League and he's proven himself worthy. You know, he's brilliant. It's Cooper into the pits. I wouldn't count Cooper out. Yeah, he's a minute down, but I wouldn't even count Cooper out over the win now.
Well, we've just had a purple sector from Risto Capit in the second sector. He's just on a 30.5 as Cooper comes in. Cooper and also moved in.
He stayed on Intas, which I think is the right call, because I still don't think it's wide enough. It's a panic out with suspension issues. Obviously had a crash somewhere down the line. But I think this is the right call from Cooper. He's seen people ahead struggle on the softs. He's seen Capit go off on the softs. I don't think he has the confidence to go on the slicks, so he's staying on Intas, which is perfectly fine. Yeah,
Zubanek lost it coming out of the right-hander after the chicane and just struck the wall. He literally just got 1 inch off the dry line onto the wet, and that's what cost him his race. So that is all of that. Now, obviously, with Cooper pitting up to third position, there's Maurice Brackon.
Gaia went round in front of Van Buren there. I got scared. I thought he was going to hit him, but he just missed.
Yeah, so Florian Gaia has now been lapped by the race leader.
Let's fight again.
Videk is into the pits indeed now. Surely he will now make the switch to a form of dry compound because he's seen the lap times from Morris. He's seen the lap times from Capit. Maybe this is now the way to beat Rudy Van Buren.
He's gone onto the slicks, he's on super softs, and he's got to watch himself. He cannot make a mistake like Capit did, and it's easy enough to do, but he's just got to watch himself here as Videk. Really needs to be careful.
Lee Morris has had an off. Lee Morris has had an off.
No, Lee.
I'm going to watch back again what's happened to Lee Morris. Part of Vosh is out of the race as well. We'll try and get back at that as well. Morris just missed he's just missed the white line, the dry line by a fraction of a second, and that's all it was. Into the wall.
DeVos's was at turn 5 as well. He was on the full wet and he just went off.
So Morris is now desperately trying to struggle his car back into the pits. What a disaster for Lee Morris. And yeah, here comes Capit on the inside of Roland. Roland shuts the door beautifully. Capit trying to come back at him. Both of these guys on dry compounds now. Capit is on the softs. Roland is on the ultras. Capit seems to have more grip. Here he goes to the inside, but he has to come off the racing line, off the dry line, in order to have a go, and that is not sensible. So Roland just holds him at bay for the moment. All of this, of course, has meant that third position now, a minute off the leader, is Maurice Brackon. He's in third.
He's having a great race to German, isn't he? I always said watch it out for him, and now he's proven it.
And Baldy's out. Baldy's out as well. He's decided enough is enough. This is silly. So Baldy is out of the race. Lee Morris is still trying. Oh, Ben Horrell has spun the car trying to get out of the pits.
That's not the best thing to do in the world. Ben, you're going to have to go around a whole lot with damage now. Well, it's easy to do. I don't blame him. It's easy to do in these wet conditions. He's just gone onto the softs as well, and then he just dropped it under the throttle.
And he's gone straight on at turn 1. This is a very long day at the office as Florian Gaia, minus rear wing, comes into the pit lane. Oh, what do you have to do to catch a break? This is a really problematic race. Oh, Florian Gaia can't even keep it in a straight line.
Look at this, though. Alex Cooper closing the both of them on the Indas. I think this whole confidence thing, this whole I don't have the confidence, so I'm going to stay on the Indas, may just have paid out in spades for Cooper. He's going to have a go at Roland, who's completely gone. He's going to get both.
Watch Cooper. He's going to pass them both on the wet part of the racetrack. See you later, alligators. I'm going to get you both. Amazing run from Alex Cooper.
Oh,
Capit's going to try and come around the outside. He's going to overshoot. Roland's going to get through. Both of them are on the wet part of the circuit. And Cooper, staying on the inters, has just blasted past them both. Goodbye, Vienna.
Well, Alex Cooper, what is he made of, sonny boy? That is sensational stuff. He just knew the exit wasn't good for them. He went for it. They're going to struggle. Alex Cooper, 2 cars for 1 price. And he's really got the bargain deal there in a 4th place and probably going to close on Brackon.
There are 16 cars left running this race. That is 1 extra for points. So Florian Gaia just needs to keep motoring around, basically, in 15th position now, because you never know. He might end up higher than 15th, and he'll get points. But this is slowly turning into the GPVWC Super League equivalent of Monaco 96, as all of the big names, bar Rudy Van Buren, seem to have fallen off the boil at some point. David Videk has made his pit stop onto the soft tyres, but in terms of his pace compared to Rudy Van Buren, Videk is not any faster, I don't think. Well, he's just done a best 3rd sector, but his lap times compared to Rudy Van Buren, Rudy's still on 129s, Videk is on 131s on dry tyres. So actually, Rudy Van Buren on inters is still able to make this car run faster in the same way that Maurice Brackon and Alex Cooper are managing.
Yeah, Fidek and Brackhart. Well, Brackhart's making a go on the inters, obviously. Fidek on the slicks. Cooper's on the inters. I feel like maybe now it's starting to widen to the point where it's really maybe working, but you have to be confident. You have to stick to that dry line. Go off a millimetre, and you've got big problems as Michael Ayres is officially at the serve after retiring. So that's confirmation that Ayres is out. But yeah, I feel like unless you're totally confident you can stick to that line with no exceptions, Inters are probably the best choice.
Lee Morris is now on an absolute flyer. He was purple in the first sector. He's actually just caught up to Fran Lopez, of all people. And Fran Lopez is diving for the pits. So Lee Morris, still on dry tyres, is actually looking pretty rapid at the moment. So maybe this is the cut-off point. And, well, Lee Morris was a few laps too early, of course. He is a lap down from the leader, but that doesn't mean in this race he is out of the contention for the victory yet, considering what we've seen so far. Morris just needs to keep on pedaling because eventually the track is going to be bone dry. But what's going to happen to the likes of Rudy van Buren, David Fidek, Maurice Brackhart before he gets there? But what if Brackhart could turn this into a podium? He's going to have a job, though, because Alex Cooper, on those incredibly confident intermediates, is charging him down.
In fact, fun fact, his last lap was a 1:29.3. Van Buren's possibly with traffic was a 1:30.5. He's closing down on the race leader here is Alex Cooper. Fidek's just done 3 green sectors. He's done a 28.7 to Van Buren's previous lap. This is not over.
Yeah, Florian Gaia has caught up to the back of Menacott. Whoops, big spin behind him from Gerrit de Vries, and he's gone big style into the barriers. Now, if these 2 Green Stripes cars just keep motoring...
Cooper! He's going for Brackhart into 1, and he's through!
What a move, as Dan Lovett goes off of the chicane as well. That's what I was looking at. But I was going to say the 2 Green Stripes cars just need to keep motoring, because if they do, they'll get double points at this rate, which will definitely help them. That's what they couldn't take advantage of at Silverstone. Now they're going to do it here at the Hungaroring if they just keep going. But Cooper gets the move on Brackhart. Isn't it interesting in the top 4? Van Buren on Inters leads by 42 to David Fidek, who is on dries, but is still able to keep a relatively calm pace. This could be very silently getting on with it, David Fidek, the smartest move. He's just driving precisely. He's not pushing it too hard because he knows that Van Buren has got to pit eventually for dry tyres, but Van Buren is not going to rush that decision. Cooper's there in 3rd on Inters. Brackhart is there on Inters in 4th. Capit is on dries. Olsen is on dries.
Oh,
so it's interesting.
Fidek's just hit the wet part, and he's lost it there. That's the thing. You can't do that. Lopez gets through him, but you got to stick rigidly to that line. Cooper's got this perfectly because he can negotiate the wet spin in the second, as we saw with that brilliant double overtake. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Alex Cooper might still be in contention for the win here.
Certainly could. All it took was Fidek just running a little bit deep, but crucially for David Fidek, I'm just watching on the replay, he kept it out of the wall. That is the important part of that little moment for David Fidek, and that will be a wake-up call. He will know that he's cost himself a good 5 seconds in that moment, but it could have been a lot worse as Brackhart comes in. Now, what's he going to do? From 4th position, what tyres is he going to go onto here? Capit goes through. Olsen will go through. He's on intermediates as well, Tobias Olsen, by the way. I thought he was on...
Stays.
Yeah, Brackhart stays on intermediates.
That is
interesting.
Probably, again, the right call. I think he's following Cooper here. I think it's the right call.
So if Brackhart is going to be quicker than the likes of Olsen, Roland and Hinz in front of him, he could get himself back up to 4th position on merit here. Behind him is now David Francic in 9th. Menno Klonti's 10th, but the next car behind David Francic on the road is Rudy van Buren, who leads this race.
Yeah, he's managed those inters perfectly, really, hasn't he? He's done what Alex Cooper's been doing, but Van Buren, I think, has been trying to stretch them even more, those intermediate tyres. In fact, the last time he stopped, I believe it was actually back on lap 16. So he's coming up with 10 laps on these inters.
Hold the front page. Fastest lap of the race. Lee Morris, 1:27.6. That's a pretty incredible lap from Lee Morris, whereas behind him, Lopez was purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2. He now gets the fastest lap. A 1:27.1 from Fran Lopez. Maybe it might be time to go to dries after all.
This is the thing, though. We keep saying you need to stick rigidly to that line. If you can't stick rigidly to the line, you lose 2 or 3 seconds by aquaplaning off. So it's all about confidence, really. If Van Buren thinks he's confident enough, he can go for it, but he'll suffer if he goes even so much as a millimetre offline because there's so much water off the racing line.
This is a tricky one for Van Buren because he's got 3 seconds deficit, nearly 4 seconds slower per lap than Morris and Fran Lopez at the moment, but they're a lap down trying to make up ground, so really can't really be getting too distracted by that as Roland has dropped back to 8th position because he's spun in the pits. Roland is spun in the pits.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you get hit the wet, this is why Inters are probably the best choice overall. You'll lose time, but it's safer in terms of stability.
Yeah, it's a difficult call, but Rudy Van Buren seems to have got
I've just seen actually, Lee Morris, no rear wing.
Oh, no.
This is exactly my point.
Oh dear, well maybe it is the right call then, intermediates, and it's exactly the same place he went off before as well. Lee Morris pushing very hard indeed through the S's once again, and he literally just gets a millimetre offline. The car swaps ends, big style, big speed, can't slow down, bang, wallop, game over again. Now it's time to hit the reset button again.
Well, that's going to really kill Morris's morale, but yeah, it's just, the thing is, as we keep saying, the soft tyres are fantastic if you can keep on the racing line. If you stray or you touch a curb, that's you round in the 360 pirouette, no questions asked. And, well, Morris has now learned that the hard way. I think he's just missed his pit box again, so he's going to have to reverse into it again. This is becoming a recurring theme for Lee Morris now. But, yeah, we look at the likes of Feidek, who's making it work, and Van Buren is leading this race, remember, and he's on the Inters. I think that says something.
Well, yeah, because it's worth pointing out that the fastest lap of the race on dry tyres is from Fran Lopez on a 127.177, and he is still going faster, I should point out.
Whoa,
the fastest lap from Rudy Van Buren on Inters is a 128.6. That's only a second and a half down.
Yeah, it's not that far down. He's got 48 seconds to Feidek, so if Feidek makes one mistake, he only has to... Look, he has to average a mistake like every 1 in 3 laps, but Feidek's not going to do that. So with the amount of gap he has, I don't think Rudy has any reason to change. You know, he's like, I've got nothing to gain from this. I'm going to stick with the status quo.
What an absolutely incredible race this is turning into. So many fantastic drives and so many tricky situations for the drivers. He's working incredibly hard there. Let's see what's happened to the drivers and looking at the positions as we get to the end of lap 30 this time by. Rudy Van Buren leads the way by 48 seconds to David Feidek by virtue of the fact that he's just staying out there on his second set of intermediates. Can I just point that out? Feidek in second place. Cooper is third. From Risto Capit now in fourth. From Tobias Olsen, Thomas Hinz, Morris Bracan in seventh place. Francic is eighth. Roland is in ninth position. Menno Klont is 10th in front of a very, very fast Fran Lopez in 11th. Lee Morris has recovered on the circuit again to 12th. Still pushing it on dry tyres. Still trying to stay out of the wall. Ben Horrell is 13th. From Florian Geyer in 14th place. As Fran Lopez makes the move on Menno Klont and goes up to 10th position. Cooper pits. Is it for dries or is he staying on the Inters?
No,
surely.
on the Inters.
No, Inters. It's a good call, Alex. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's not dry enough yet. Florian Geyer in 14th behind Ben Horrell. 15th is Gerard de Vries. 16th is Dan Lovett. There are no other racers in this race.
Yeah, only 16, still running Van Buren in. Van Buren in now. I'm intrigued to see what he does here.
Surely Inters.
If this is a dry tyre call, I think he's got it entirely wrong. If he thinks he's confident to stay on that line, go for it. But we've seen Feidek, we've seen Morris, we've seen all these high-profile racers make
and
mistakes
Risto
on the dries. And Risto Capit too. What's he going to do? He's gone! He's gone for the slicks!
Oh,
this is bad, Rudy!
Oh, this is going to make things very interesting. If Rudy Van Buren thinks he's okay on dry tyres,
well,
I have a feeling he's going to be very, very surprised.
There's a dry line forming out of the pits now, but I still think it's not ready. If he goes off, he is going to get hammered for it. I mean, he's precise enough that he can make this work. I think Rudy might. I think he's got the self-confidence to do it. But it only takes one mistake. I'm sure Risto Capit and Lee Morris thought they could have done it as well. But I think Alex Cooper on those Inters is still in the right here.
Do you know what? Several drivers are pointing out, though, that Borja Milan writes on YouTube, Rudy is so precise, he can do it.
Yeah,
but of course he can do it. We know he's precise enough to do it. But if you make just that slight error, that is what's going to kill the race for him. Now, David Feidek is only at turn 2 behind him. So Van Buren is about, what, 30 seconds up the road? All he's got to do is drop it once on these first 2 or 3 laps on dry tyres when they're still getting up to temperature. That's when he could lose the race.
Yeah, I'm going to be keeping a very beady eye on Van Buren so much as a slide, and it's going to be proof that he's not got the traction he needs.
Olsen's in.
Yeah.
Now, is Olsen going to be caught up by the fact that Van Buren went for dry tyres and make the same switch? I think he has.
He's on supers, yep, he's on supers, he's gone for it as
He
well.
can barely keep it in a straight line down the pit lane.
That's the thing, though, as we keep saying, Rudy, we know he can keep eyeing onto that line. Then he's going to get past Nick Rowland, who's coming up ahead, and Rowland is actually in 8th place here. He's going to try and get past. He's got to go on the wet part of the track. That's going to cause him to aquaplane. So Roland, unless he gets out of the way, is going to cause a problem for Van Buren.
This is so intriguing.
Oh, Roland spins ahead of Van Buren, and he slowed the Dutchman down there, and he gets squiggly as he comes back on the dry line.
That's one way of doing it, I suppose. Roland lets him go. Lopez is going to get quite a lot closer to him now as a result of that in 9th position, who is now, by the way, ahead of David Francic. He had a genuine chance to win this one at the start as well, Francic. Now he's down in 10th position, a lap down. The gap between Van Buren and Feidek is 28 seconds, I should point out as well. Now, just looking at their sector times, well, on the first lap out of the pits, the first sector, Rudy Van Buren obviously slow in the first sector because he had to get out of the way of Nick Rowland. Feidek has done a, well, we'll see when he comes through the end of the first sector. Captain is into the pits as well.
Feidek has had enough. Feidek has enough. So again, that seems to be these slick tyres. Captain in though, and Captain is going to stay on the slicks. No surprise there. He's decided to stay on them. Cooper is obviously still on the end, thinks that's the right strategy. But the dry line is widening now. And I think maybe if it's wide enough for Van Buren, he can make this work.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Capet does now in the battle with Lee Morris, because Morris is now right behind Capet. So we'll see how those two battle away for position. Lee Morris is, of course, a lap down, I should point out, but that's not going to stop Lee Morris trying to get on the inside of Risto Capet, who puts one wheel on the wet line but manages to keep the car together. Now, Van Buren's first dry lap on dry tyres is a 1:30.3. Feidek's last lap was a 1:29.1. So Rudy Van Buren still getting himself up to speed. Feidek did just go off there on that last lap, though, so he dropped 4 seconds more than Rudy Van Buren did in the first sector, and he dropped about 3 seconds. So both very slow laps there for Van Buren and Feidek. Doesn't really give us a representation as to what their speed is, but the gap is 33 seconds. If it starts to drop, we'll know that Feidek's doing better on them.
Yeah, if it starts to drop, we'll know David Feidek's making better use of the dries, but we'll have to see what's going on here. Van Buren, he's got himself in the perfect scenario to try it out with it being in the race lead and with the dry line now being wide enough for him to attempt it, but he's got to be so close. He can't fall off that dry line. If he falls off the dry line, he will not have any grip. He will aquaplane, and this is the issue here. Traffic. He's got to deal with it. He's got to wait. In fact, he's relying on the traffic getting out of the way. As Horrell almost crashes with the barrier getting out of the way of Van Buren. He's got to rely on them getting out of the way, and they might not always do that.
Watch 5th position. This is going to be an interesting battle. Bracan on the inters, Capet and Morris on the road, both on dries. Capet's going to try and make the move on Bracan. Bracan's going to move into the way. He's got to back out of it. Good move from Maurice Bracan. He's got the confidence on the dry line on inters. Capet does not have the confidence on the wet part of the racetrack. The car's swirling all over the place. Bracan can use the wet weather tyres. Somehow they got out of the way of that slow green stripes car, but Risto's gone through, and now his next target is Thomas Hinds, also on dry tyres.
Yeah, that is especially true. You know, he's moving him onto the wet bit. Capet couldn't do anything. That's the thing. And this is exactly the problem that these wet dry runners are going to face. If they get onto the wet, they'll have to back out. They'll have to go slower till they can get on the dry again. Because these wet tyres don't work.
But Capet got through because of that slower green stripes car. Now Capet railing in Thomas Hinds to try and make the move back into 4th position. Alex Cooper still on intermediate tyres in 3rd position. Van Buren leads the way. Feidek 2nd, Cooper 3rd. But is Risto Capet going to struggle to get past Thomas Hinds?
Perhaps so. I mean, Hinds is doing a good job just backing up Capet here at the moment. Hopefully, you know, that's going to remain the case so far. Hinds really just in a great position at the moment. He's on a sterling race. And, well, let's hope he can keep it up. Because those slick tyres are not easy to manage. As Capet himself knows in the wet that they're not easy to deal with. Though this is a good-looking battle at the moment between the two of them.
It's still not really sure whether it's the dries or the inters that is right to be on at the moment. As Capet goes over! Capet overshoots. Capet overshoots and drops behind Maurice Bracan. Well, I was just going to say, we weren't really sure which is the way to go because of dries or inters. Maybe Risto's given us a bit of an indication. Because yeah, Morris will unlap himself here, but the significant factor of this, as he slots back in behind Bracan, is Alex Cooper's lap times. He's just done a 1:27.8 on inters. That's only 7/10 slower than Lopez has managed on dries. That's worth pointing out. No, sorry. Morris has done a 1:26.5. Van Buren has just done a 1:26.1. I think it might be time for dries.
Perhaps so, if he can stick on that line, but it's widening at this point, so maybe now is the switch point. But even so, Cooper's done well just to stay in it on those inters because, you know, they're the right tyres if you're not confident. He's been going on the wet bits of the circuit. He's slower, yes, but he's been safe, and he's put himself within contention of Van Buren if he can have a sterling final run here. But 1:26.1 from, yeah, he's quite far down on the lap distance now, so maybe Cooper should consider it.
Here we go again. Capet has caught right up to Maurice Bracan in their battle for 5th position, and Morris just needs to keep him off the dry line. Oh, he goes a little bit wide. Capet's gone off!
That was big!
Oh no, Risto's gone off and onto the grass. All it takes again, one little inch over the dry line and onto the wet part of the circuit. That's all it takes.
This is what I'm talking about. This is probably why Cooper's decided to stay on the inters.
Oh dear, it's so close, that fine line, isn't it? And clearly Rudy Van Buren, the smooth operator, is doing an absolutely cracking job out there just to keep it together. As a result of that little off, can I just point out, Risto Capet's just going through the final turn and onto the main straight. Van Buren's turning into the final turn. Van Buren's nearly a lap ahead of his teammate.
He's going to go a lap ahead of everyone at this rate.
It's going to be like something out of Adelaide 95 when he'll put on...
I don't know if it's been done in GPVWC. I'm going to go check.
Yeah, has anybody ever lapped the entire field in GPVWC SuperLeague? I'm not sure they have. Mind you, Fidek is only 39 seconds back, so still, Rudy, we know that he has made mistakes this year. Shanghai was a good indicator of that, and obviously the team... Oh, Van Buren's gone off! Van Buren's gone off at turn 2!
A bit though, that's not going to cost him much time. He has had a skid off there, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. It takes a millimetre off, and then you lose it. See, he just went too deep a bit there, then he lost it, went on to the guys, he only had a slight off there, but that's enough to wake him up.
Well, Lovett and De Vries have both gone off behind him on that last couple of corners, but Rudy Van Buren... Goodness me, that is the wake-up
moment.
Yeah, that is the wake-up call of the century. I was just saying, we know that Rudy Van Buren does make mistakes, so he's not perfect. That is hopefully his last mistake of the race as far as he's concerned. That was a big sweat moment as Alex Cooper comes across the line.
Third still, obviously, at the moment, but yeah, obviously on those inters, making them work, as we say. It just takes one mistake and you're off the track on the slick track ahead. And, well, Van Buren obviously proving that with his little excursion there, but it might be a combination of tyre wear too.
Lopez makes the move on Menno Klont, and that moves him up into 10th position. Makes the move on Francic. Oh, sorry, that's Horrell. Sorry, I thought that was Francic, but that was Horrell, who's already been lapped. A big slide from there. Maurice Bracan has now got Risto Capet back underneath him yet again. So this is going to be one heck of a battle to watch as Risto goes for the 3rd time of asking. But I was just going to say, Cooper, Bracan and Klont are now the only drivers on the circuit on intermediate tyres. Everybody else is on dries.
Yeah, really, at this point, you know, in terms of outright pace, it's where, you know, the one you want to be. I think Dan Lovett's had an incident somewhere. Yeah, he's just stayed off the track there. He's gone off again as Van Buren passes him. But yeah, if you're not confident, inters are the tyres to go. But if you are, as a lot of people are now, it is really dry tyre city.
I think Dan Lovett's talking to the team. Should I keep going? I've had an awful race. I'm just spinning off every single way. Can I keep going? And the team manager's saying, yes, keep going. If one more driver retires, we'll have 2 cars in the points. Keep going, for goodness sake. As Risto Capet gets right underneath Maurice Bracan again, down the short stretch to turn 14. Capet having to sit there tightly. And this is a difficult situation because Lee Morris couldn't give 2 figs about Risto Capet in front of him. He's going to want to try and get through as Cooper pits. Now, is this for inters or is this for dries?
I don't know. Cooper's in for dries. He's in for dries. He's on the slicks. He's decided now is the time to jump. So maybe now is... Oh, he's spun out of the pit lane!
No!
This is exactly what I'm talking about. He should have just stuck with the inters, man, if he wasn't confident. Now he's ruined his chance of the win.
Yeah, he's forced himself into a decision he didn't want to have to make, and he's done it too early for his own peace of mind. And now Rudy Van Buren is about to lap him. He struggles on the curb on the inside line. Oh,
and he's off again.
Yeah, he's off again.
Now spins again. This is the
Alex.
I wanted you to win, man. But I wanted you to win, man. But with on those tyres, you cannot do it.
He should have stayed on inters for one more stint if he wasn't confident, but now that gives Hinz 3rd position. Thomas Hinz is in 3rd place.
Thomas!
Thomas Hinz, the lovable, very likeable Australian who always joins us in the interviews afterwards. Wherever he finishes, he always wants to have a chat with us, and now he could well be there on merit for the silverware. Maurice Bracan still in 4th position, though, in front of Risto Capet as Tobias Olsen now pits, and he goes on to dry tyres. So now there's only Maurice Brackharn and Menno Klont on intermediate tyres. They're the only ones. Klont is in the pits. Does he now make the switch to dry tyres? Let's have a look. Oh, Tobias Olsen is in without a front wing or a rear wing, I should point out. Menno Klont has made the change, I think, to dry tyres. Yes, he has. So now Maurice Brackharn is the only driver out there still on intermediates. But I do feel that Alex Cooper should still be on them.
Yeah, if you're not confident, don't go for it. But I think a lot of the fields are at this point. Look at Capit on the outside of Brackharn, who's still on the inters, by the way. So this is really, you know, test of speed here. Capit, though, is going to get the draft into turn 1, but he can't get through because it's wet lines. So he's going to try anyway. But you see, that's how little room he has. Can't get through on Morris.
Yeah, well done to Morris there, forcing Capit to either go on the wet line or back out of the move. And that is exactly how Morris has got himself into 4th position. He's kept these inters going as long as they possibly can. And they're still good. The tyres are still good on inters. If there are a couple of drivers who are still having wayward moments, there's no reason why they shouldn't switch back to the inters. In terms of overall pace, drivers are still able to lap on the inters on 1:29s and 1:30s. Maurice Brackharn's last lap, a 1:30.8. Yes, okay, it's not a dry lap time, but he's actually running particularly well in front of Capit.
Yeah, he's running pretty well at the moment. Hins has just had a bit of a take a route and excursion to get past Klont, but he's okay.
Look who's joined the back of the queue as Morris gets out the way and lets the race leader through. Rudy van Buren has joined this posse. Now, this is going to be interesting as Capit trying to get through on Brackharn on different tyres as Vidic pits. Vidic is into the pit, so he's going to change tyres again. Big shunt in front of them. That's one of the green stripe cars.
Oh dear, that's not good. That can't help anything as David fighting on the ultra softs, going for sheer speed at the moment. Brackharn and Klont are going at it. Well, Klont gets out of the way. Van Buren trying to get past Brackharn. Then it's going to be Hins and fighting that he's not lapped, and Hins is not far. He's going to, he might do it, you know.
Brackharn in the pits. So Brackharn goes for the pits as Van Buren gets through unscathed. So Rudy van Buren goes through unscathed, and now everybody up to 3rd position has been lapped.
Oh, Rudy van Buren, are you about to make Super League history, mate?
De Vries spins on the way into the pits. That is really quite silly. Or is that on the way out of the pits, I think? No, it is on the way out of the pit. So Gerrit De Vries loses the car. Brackharn is in the pits. Is he on dries? Yes, he is. So too Klont, so too Lee Morris, of course. But it's really tricky still in the pits as several drivers are finding out and still struggling for grip. Florian Gaia goes off for the final turn. Big shunt. I think that's game over for Gaia.
Oh, Gaia. Well, actually, well, it looks like he's, yeah, front wing gone. He'll have to do a whole lap without it, but from 14 I don't know whether he thinks it's worth it. He's having to stick to the outside. He's on the wet part of the track. He'll have to get onto the dry line. Ain't looking good for the German, that much is for sure. But as you say, maybe if the time is right, it's time for dries now, surely. But well, you got to still be careful.
Well, it's suspension damage I'm worried about more than anything for
because that can't be fixed.
Well, he took a really heavy hit there as well. Really heavy hit into the barrier, and it was at a really dodgy angle, so I would be really fearful for the left rear suspension of the car. It's going to start crabbing if he's hit it in the wrong part of the course. Meanwhile, Rudy van Buren, just ticking on nicely, is about to lap Hins, who now comes in the pits. Hins struggling on the way into the pits because it's still wetter on the way into the pits. Hins comes in, and now the entire field up to 2nd. David Vidic has now been lapped.
Well, I said at the start, I said as soon as the opportunity came, I think Van Buren is going to lap everyone. I don't think it's been done in Super League. It's been done almost in Super Cup in PB Racing in 2011. Hins onto the ultra softs in all this, but I think perhaps Super League history is about to be made.
So it's never happened in the GPVWC Super League. It has happened in GPVWC, but not in Super League.
It almost happened, almost in Super Cup. I don't even know where this happened before. I'm going to have to go consult with the historian.
Well, I tell you what, this is going to be an absolutely unprecedented event if it's the case. David Vidic is in 2nd position, 1:11 behind Rudy van Buren. I think everybody's wheeling him on. Don't let him beat us by an entire lap. As Capit is now 3rd, Cooper is 4th, Hins is in 5th ahead of Maurice Brackharn, who's still got Lee Morris underneath him trying to unlap himself. Frančić is now 7th from Lopez, Roland and Tobias Olsen, with Morris up to 11th position, unlapping himself from Brackharn. 12th is Klont, 13th is Ben Horrell without a rear wing. Florian Gaia is into the pits with damage to the car. He's now surely going to come into the pits. He does. Ben Horrell is struggling back to the pits too without a rear wing. Gerrit De Vries and Dan Lovett. Dan Lovett's in the pits with damage as well. It's all kicking off here. I don't know where to look.
Oh, it could happen, it could happen, could it happen? Yes, it could! Rudy Van Buren might be about to make history. Fidek is in second, Kappa third, Cooper fourth, Hins fifth. So many people in so many places, I don't want to stop watching. Can we have double this race length?
Well, James Kirk has just written on the chat, lapping the entire field has definitely never happened in the 4 years he commentated on Super Cup and the World Sports Series. So it would be an unprecedented event if he manages to get the job done. Horrell in, Gaia in, and Rudy Van Buren just ticking on nicely. Now, Fidek is down to 1 minute 10. Has he had an off, asks Chris Shepherd, or is it just strategy and pace? Well, I think it is purely on strategy. I think Rudy Van Buren has just been getting some absolutely stellar lap times in recently, but Fidek has just set the new fastest lap of the race at 1:25.4. The gap comes down to 70 seconds. So maybe he did have an off somewhere and we didn't see it, but he has got back on the pace, and he is now the fastest lap of the race. He just took 9/10 of a second out of Rudy Van Buren's lead on that last lap.
Yeah, he just took a big chunk out of Van Buren. I've been talking with Mike Pittman, actually, who obviously big boss of our Vodbull, and he says not to his knowledge has it ever happened before. He knows Philip Pushka got to the top 3, but definitely not within the switch to R Factor 2 that we've made recently.
Oh, so contact, Lopez and Roland. Roland goes for a spin. Lopez had got through. Roland was trying to come back, and he missed his braking point into turn 2. So Roland spins back down to 9th position. Looks as though he's got away without too much damage.
Yeah, he just went into the back of Lopez.
Yeah, I think he just missed his braking point as he was trying to get back on the inside. Lopez had shut the door, as he was entitled to, and Roland just missed his braking point. Horrell has gone big style off behind Lopez now, so Horrell is back in the wall again. So drivers are still struggling on dry tyres with this car as Horrell spins the car off the circuit. He wants to keep going because he can get points if he just keeps going. De Vries is 5 laps down. Lovett is 9 laps down, really struggling on his debut in this car. But if the drivers at the back just keep going, they are almost certainly guaranteed points. So they've just got to keep on pushing.
Yeah,
Fidek has dropped the gap again. Sorry, Fidek has dropped the gap again. He is still going quicker than Van Buren. Van Buren does his best Sector 1, which is a 29.7. Fidek's just done a 29.3. So he is still quicker than Rudy Van Buren.
Quick stuff, actually. That is brilliant. I mean, this race is not done, is it?
Well, if Van Buren makes one mistake now, that's it. The race has suddenly started as Fran Lopez comes into the pits. Now, I don't know if that's strategic or if that was because of the incident with Roland. I think it was just his plan to come into the pits anyway. He goes back onto dry tyres again. Nobody is on into... Oh, no, sorry. There is one driver on intermediates. That is Menno Klont. Klont has gone back to the inters. He's decided, do you know what? Dries are not working for me. Inters are. So I'm going back onto them.
Yep, I'm actually just saying it has happened before in Super League. Definitely not in the R Factor 2 era, but I believe there's been 2 occurrences of it happening. Jan Tanskanen back in 2010 at the Italian Grand Prix, and Dave Carr-Smith in 2011 at Monaco, where he won by 2 laps.
Right, okay, so...
It has happened, but not within R Factor 2.
No, so this would be the first R Factor 2 victory by a lap if Rudy Van Buren were to beat David Fidek by a lap, but I'm not sure he's going to do it anymore, because Fidek's pace has actually picked up big style. And Bruno SF makes a mistake, makes a point there on the YouTube feed. The thing is, Rudy Van Buren won't make a mistake. Well, were you watching about 20 minutes ago? He did make one. It's the only time all season he has made a mistake, but it's so easy to do in these conditions. We still don't have the widest dry line that there is possible to be to keep people comfortable. So Rudy and David are just having to push like stink and hope they don't drift off the line.
Yeah, I mean, he's just having a really, as you say, got to stay on the dry line. But if Van Buren can pull this off, get this whole race victory, he'll join the likes of the great Jan Tanskanen, one of the best Super League drivers ever. And, well, Dave Carr-Smith, who was always impressive as well. So he's going to put himself up with the big names and cement himself as one of the top Super League talents.
That is an off for, I think, that's not Lee Morris, is it? No, Tobias Olsson's gone off again. Tobias Olsson missing a rear wing, and he's going backwards into the wall. He somehow misses it.
Gaia's had another incident somewhere along the line again. I think he went onto the wet part of the track and then just lost it. And then he saved it. But, yeah, that has not gone well for Gaia. But, yeah, he's had a bit of an issue there. Van Buren! Get loose on the straight!
Oh, goodness me! Rudy Van Buren.
Gotta keep it on the dry, mate.
My word. Rudy Van Buren, if he's going to get this victory done, then it's going to be the biggest relief of his life. That is such a scary moment as he goes off the circuit at the final turn. And then spins in a straight line. Did he hit the barrier? Yes, he did. Now, it wasn't a big hit, so I think he should be all right without damage.
I don't think there is damage. No, if it is, it's very minimal. I think RVB will be able to cope with that either way, but he's got to keep his eyes open here. He can't go into autopilot with this much water still on the track.
You can't make mistakes, eh? Rudy Van Buren doesn't make mistakes. Yeah, he does. Everybody does. Nero Tiberius writes, Rudy Van Buren is flirting with disaster. Yep, he is the Molly Hackett of the Grand Prix at the moment as he works his way through the chicane to try and get that time back that he lost to David Feidek. And he did lose, I would estimate, about 7 or 8 seconds in that little moment because, of course, he went wide first, then trying to get the time back. He then lost it together. So a really difficult position there. Elise Skinner writes on the tone, Jake's tone when Thomas went off just sums up my reaction whenever I make a mistake. So I have to say, Elise, with that kind of bravado, we'd love to see you in these cars. If you are watching and you're thinking, I could race in this championship or at least one of the Academy Leagues to get up there, GPVWC.com, get yourself signed up. As Fran Lopez goes off the circuit and loses the place to David Francic, and Olsen is out. Olsen is out.
Yes. Finally calling it a day. That is a shame to see Tobias out of the race. But yeah, of course, if you are interested in getting involved with GPVWC, of course, Formula Challenge, maybe the race to start. There's sometimes drives going straight up in Super Cup, though, if you've already proven yourself. So, you know, really one of the things I suggest you want to get involved, just get laps on the testing server, get yourself familiar with the cars, maybe start in Formula Challenge, Super Cup if there's an opportunity and you like the fast Formula cars, get yourself involved, sign up to the forums.
Capet is in the pits, and that's a scheduled stop, so he loses the place to Thomas Hinz, rejoins the circuit on the very, very wet part of the track, then rejoins the racing line. So easy when you make the switch from one to the other to have a spin. Now, if you're Daniel Lovett, stay out on the track. For goodness sake, bring it home, because with Olsen out of the race, that means there are only 15 cars running, and if you complete 90% of the race distance, you'll be classified as a finisher. Now, admittedly, Lovett is going to struggle to do that because he's 9 laps behind Rudy Van Buren, but if he just keeps going, he might just be in for a point here as, Fran Lopez scribbling around trying to get himself back in a position as he goes for the move on the inside of Francic. He's gone right onto the wet part of the circuit and back onto the dry. He's made it work. That's amazing. And Francic has had to drop back in position. So that's David Feidek coming past them to lap them. Feidek's disadvantage to Van Buren into the pits. Right, so he needs new tyres. Feidek is only a minute 3 behind him now, so he's taken a good 7 seconds out of him as Van Buren comes into the pits, tippy-toeing into the pit lane where it's still very wet indeed. Now, is Rudy Van Buren still confident enough on the dries that it's going to be the sensible decision, or will he go back to Inters?
Yep, he's still confident. He's not changed. He's still in the supers. It hasn't scared him, and he's going to stick on what he believes to be the best strategy at the moment, and I do not blame him for that.
Well, okay, I suppose his option is everybody else is on the dry. And when people do get a string of good laps together, it is the faster tyre to be on. So I can't really be the one to be the maverick when I've got the lead, even if it is by a minute. Now, interestingly, Cooper and Hinz have both unlapped themselves as a result of that pit stop. So they're back on the lead lap. So Rudy Van Buren's really going to have to get his skates on if he wants to be a lap ahead of the rest of the field and join the likes of Dave Carr-Smith and Tagaisen.
Yeah, Tanskin and Carl Smith, you can join the likes of. I'm just seeing Matthew Allen in the chat saying one man obliterates on a drying track. Feels like a lot like Canada last year. Matthew, that does not tell you a 197th of the story.
Indeed, it doesn't. Now, we've got Van Buren coming up to lap Thomas Hinz once again as Francic makes a pit stop. So Van Buren is into the gap now to Feidek is just under a minute as Hinz gets out of the way and lets Van Buren go.
Well done.
Sensible move. Well, sensible move for Tom, because now he can stop behind Rudy Van Buren, follow his line and pick up a few tips, because in these conditions you do need to see if you can get a little bit more of a gap to his opposition. He's still in the race, don't forget, to beat Alex Cooper, who's gone off in front of him. Cooper's gone off in front of him, trying to come into the pits.
Gets back in the pits, so he's safe. Cooper is safe. And while Hinz is going to get promoted back onto the podium, which frankly I'm absolutely happy about, but he's got Risto Cabot giving him serious chase at the moment, so he's not safe in third. He's got the stone in right up his trumpet.
So is Caput going to be able to get past Thomas Hinz? Hinz was a real good challenger to that position earlier on, but Cooper now is on a real race to try and get this position back because he's lost a lot of ground having spun off. So Hinz is still in the battle for third position. Risto Caput trying to come through. If any of the Vodbull drivers are going to make a mistake today, it's Risto Caput, because he just has that little bit of daring. But have you seen the lap time he's just done? He's put in a 1:24.303 as he makes the move. Does he to get through? Risto Capit's still trying to come by. Hasn't quite made it stick.
He doesn't have the leverage. He just doesn't have the track space to make it go through the moment. I think he's stuck behind Hinds until he can find enough dry track.
Well, Rudy Van Buren is now 44 seconds ahead of David Feidek. So the gap is looking a little bit more reasonable again as Hinds and Capit continue to scrap away. Capit looking for the opportunistic move. He's trying to come back through again. Now, Rudy Van Buren is ahead of these two cars, as we know, so we have lapped everybody up to second place once again, sorry, as Hinds again defends from Capit. All he has to do is protect the dry line, because if Capit goes onto the wet line to try and get past him, there's no way he's going to have enough grip under braking. So Hinds can just protect on the inside line and hold on to this third position. It's Capit who's going to get frustrated, and it's Capit who's going to make the mistake here, if anybody is.
So all he has to do is stay on the dry line. That's exactly it. Capit's decision. Capit has to go through, planted in the middle. There you go. See, he's got a nice relaxed line. Capit's not going to go through. No chance in heck he's going to make it. Although Hinds is going to watch, he doesn't overshoot the line here, as he doesn't. Well done from Hinds. You see, that's all he got to do. He's got to stay in the dry line, and all they go as long as Capit doesn't get the line.
James Kirk makes a very good point about Thomas Hinds. He said he's had an absolutely outstanding race. He beat himself up far too much, but now he's more relaxed. You can see the benefits that he has got. The mindset of such an mindset is such an understated part of the driver. It can affect so much. But Thomas Hinds is doing an absolutely cracking job. We've seen him get close to the podium many times already this year. Now all he's got to do is just keep the focus in front of Risto Capit. What's going to be interesting is the in-lap and out-lap as they battle each other for the position through the pit stops. But I think Thomas Hinds has the ability to beat him. As into the pits comes Maurice Brackard without a rear wing. That's it. He's gone off. He's gone off on the way to the pits. See, the entry to the pit lane is still ridiculously wet. So that's where drivers are going to lose the race here, is making a pit stop.
Yeah, and that's not something you hear us say every day. But yeah, you've just got to really just focus and on the pit lane entry. You've just got to keep it nice and simple. Can't do anything wrong. And well, Hinds and Capit still battling it out ahead of well there, but yeah, it's just you got to keep it so clean through here. Got to keep focused on
Maurice
the entry.
Brackard was not even trying to pit. He lost it at the final turn, ran into the barriers, and then had to dive for the pits. So Brackard's pit stop was not scheduled.
Oh, well, that's, again, you can force yourself into the pits if you make a mistake at the wrong time, but, yeah, Brackard has had to come in and get that fixed, and that's going to cost him big time. Capit's just looking left, right, and centre, and he goes a bit wide here. Yep, Capit straight on. Hinds has been given a reprieve, and Capit's going to lose a lot of time in that wet track.
And again, Lee Morris, fired up, is going to be on the back of Risto Capit if he's not careful. Thomas Hinds doing exactly what he needs to do to get this podium finish. Cooper's made the mistake on the way into the pits. Capit has made the mistake trying to get past Thomas Hinds. Good boy, Tom. Keep it going, boy.
Yeah, this is exactly what he needs. This is just a perfect drive from him. If he can just cling on to this third, it would be probably cause for extreme celebration from the Aussie. Right,
it's definitely time for the dry tyres now, because Rudy Van Buren's last lap was a 124.6 compared to David Feidek, who obviously had a mistake on that last lap and just did a 129.1. That is the difference between Van Buren and Feidek. He is taking 5 seconds a lap out of him at the moment. So Feidek is looking very likely to drop to a lap behind before the end of this race. There's time to do it. He's got 20 laps to go at the end of this one, Rudy Van Buren. He can make up that kind of time on Feidek and beat him by a lap if he keeps up this kind of pace.
Yeah, perhaps so. Rudy Van Buren really on for it at the moment. He's just got to keep it nice and steady, as he has been doing for the last 50 laps, give or take. Obviously, there has been mistakes in that, but everyone makes mistakes. He's just got to keep it nice and simple, really.
Roland has made the move on Brackard out of the pits, so Roland has gone through onto the inside in 8th position. Morris is back in the pits. I don't know whether that's scheduled or not. I assume. Oh, Roland's gone off.
Oh, Nick. That's not good, mate.
Oh, Roland has dropped it at turn 2, so another mistake, I'm afraid, from Nick Roland. It's so easy to make that error. He's lost the front wing. So let's have a look at how he did it. Oh, he lost it going into the first corner. So he'd already lost the front wing. Then he lost grip going down into turn 2. Missed the barrier, but he'd lost his front wing earlier than that. He must have collided with Brackard, and that's how he lost the front wing initially.
Yeah, that is not good for, you know, it's easy to do, as we say, but it's not good. It's going to cost him time as he has to come back and get that fixed and, you know, continue onwards as David Francis just gets out of the way of Rudy Van Buren, Van Buren again in the lead here. It's getting to the point where it's just getting out of his way at the moment. They know they can't fight him.
Yeah, Francis, he's in 7th position and he's just been lapped for the 2nd time, would you believe? That is absolutely unprecedented, as Florian Gaia has now worked his craft up as high as he can to move up into 12th position. Now, Gaia is in 12th position, 4 laps behind Rudy van Buren, but still he plugs on. Those points could be the difference between Nordjön beating a team like Madcape in the Teams Championship, don't forget. So he's got to just keep on plugging away and coming up with as many points as he can get. At this point, he can't change the fact that he's 4 laps down, but he can make it work for him. He can get those points. Now, Fidek, surely, it's not going to be too long before he makes a pit stop, but he's losing so many seconds a lap to Rudy van Buren that when it happens, when Rudy van Buren does, or as De Vries gets out of the way of Rudy van Buren, Fidek is going to make the pit stop. When he does, Van Buren's going to lap him just by passing the pit lane, surely.
Well, perhaps so, but... Well, we'll have to see how this goes from the rest of the race. There is still, let's not forget...
Fidek's pitting. Now, he's going to really struggle coming into the pits. He's going to know
that, though. He's going to know he's going to lose time, so he's going to be very, very careful with his throttle applications. Fidek will know that by this point. He's sensible enough to keep it nice and simple. But yeah, Van Buren's going to gain time in all this. And, well, really, it's just going to be a case of... who can do what? Fidek's got to be careful on the entry as he is, and Lopez got to be careful on the exit as he is. Back onto the supers for Fidek, fair play to him. But Van Buren, you know, he's not going to get... Fidek's going to exit. He's not going to be lapped just yet, but Van Buren's going to close in.
I don't believe it. Rudy van Buren is going to become the 3rd driver at this rate to lap the entire field. After Tanskanen and after Carl Smith, Rudy van Buren is likely to become the 3rd driver in GPVWC Super League history to lap the entire field. He's not far from it. Fidek is doing the best he can, but he's only a corner ahead of him.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting stuff for sure. I think Fran Lopez's engine's actually smoking in all this. He's pushing that Adonis to its absolute maximum in 6th place.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Lopez has got an engine issue.
It's smoking, so it's overheating probably.
That's definitely not water. That is an engine problem for Lopez. Now, obviously, they're pushing these engines as far as they can go.
It won't be wet. What it will be is the fact he's overheating it, and he'll just need to back off slightly because the engine smokes before it overheats. It's not necessarily wear related. I think Lopez's engine was actually quite fresh, actually. If I look at the Adonis, the number 4 at 31% this year, it might be something to do with that, but it will be overheating too.
Now, question, what's Rudy van Buren's engine life like? Because
he started on 22, so he's made it stick.
Yeah, because Lopez started on a fresh engine and it's down to 33%.
Fresh air, it was 31.
Oh, 31, okay.
Well, sorry, 25, so about the same as Van Buren.
Okay, so if that's an issue for Lopez and he's struggling, Van Buren's engine is weaker than Lopez's is in terms of percentage. If Van Buren is pushing as hard as he is, okay, he's going to need to turn down the dial. Maybe not lap Fidek. It might not be such a bad idea because he's obviously got to try and preserve this victory. It would be even crueler to lose a victory for Rudy van Buren with a dead engine than it would be for a crash of the game as it was in Sochi earlier this year.
If an engine was going to fail, it would fail immediately. I feel like Lopez's problem is that he's overheated it, maybe not running enough radiator, because you would see smoke coming out the car would slow down immediately. I think Lopez's problem is that he's just overheated it. Van Buren's got the heat under control, so if it's going to conk out, it'll conk out suddenly.
Okay, so Van Buren is not going to have too much of an issue there at the moment. They're both matching each other for pace, by the way, Van Buren and Fidek in the first sector. Not much to choose between them, other than the 83 seconds that separates the two of them on the race circuit. Hinz is 3rd, Capet is 4th, and Hinz has actually got nicely away from Capet. Capet is not able to close down the gap to Hinz.
And he's stuck behind Clont now.
Yeah, he's stuck behind Clont, so... And let's not forget that Menno Clont is the only driver out there other than Maurice Bracard now who's gone back onto the Inters, who's on Inter tyres. So Menno Clont seems comfortable on the intermediate tyres. So does Maurice Bracard.
Guys had another issue, crashed again on the pits.
Not again. This is an absolute nightmare for Florian Gaia. He was so elated and relieved after Silverstone when he got the job done. He won last time, Florian Gaia. And now, well, disaster. It couldn't have been any worse for him this weekend.
It couldn't have been. No, it's gone so much worse. It's like, this is the exact opposite of the last race. Now he's just constantly just having problems as if it's constantly going his way and getting it right. Now he's getting it wrong and having incidents. Yeah, he cracked the pit wall of all things. So,
yeah.
Oh.
I tell you what, Florian Gaia is the Felipe Massa of this weekend, isn't he? Having gone from one weekend brilliance and dominant victory straight to, you know, the scene of the accidents all over the place, as Massa was at Silverstone 2008. Absolutely ridiculous. Elise Skinner writes, that's a tough one. I've done that. Just understeering into the entry wall. So easy to do on the damp surface, especially when you consider that the pit lane is about as wet as it was when drivers were starting to make
Lopez
Lopez is out. Lopez is gone.
Overheated his engine, probably. Yep, and he was stopped on the side of the track. It's
Lopez
overheated in
out.
a likely scenario. That is him, bang, bang, dead. And if that was wet, that's going to worry. It was coming in, he was coming in, and then it was, it died on the in the middle of the corner, so maybe it was wear-related. So Van Buren, if it was wear-related, has got to worry now. But if it was temperature-related, I don't know why it would heat up in the middle of the corner.
Well, that is a bit of a concern then for any of the engines that are below par in terms of their percentage. But Van Buren, for the moment, is making it work. But to a certain extent, Mike Pittman will be on the radio to him saying, look, mate, Lopez's engine has gone and his engine was better life than ours. Do as much as you can to get the car to the finish. Short shift, keep it going. Don't push the engine too far. You're way out in front. You're nearly a lap ahead of David Feider. Don't take stupid risks. Don't overcook it. You can win this. Just hold it together, mate.
I've just seen actually Stefan Ruralt's posted up in the GPVWC Discord server use of tyres. Van Buren did 16 laps on that first set of intermediates, then 15, then 16, then 4 at the time of the screenshot being taken on the on these super soft tyres. So he's making these tyres last. Cooper into the pits and all this, but it's a very useful graph. If you look at it, you'll see what people have been doing.
Cooper's in the pits. So
stays on the supers, by the way.
Yeah, stays on the super softs. Now, an interesting point here from Nero Tiberius. He writes, I think the Green Stripes racing team aren't going to score any points after all this work. Now, he's got a good point here because Gerrit de Vries is 7 laps down and Daniel Lovett is 11 laps down. Now, you are only classified as a finisher if you complete 90% of the distance. Now,
that means he's got to be within 7 laps.
Yeah, now Gerrit de Vries has got to be within 7 laps. If he loses one more lap to Van Buren, the GSR team are not going to get any points from this race. That is an absolute catastrophe for them when all they've done is what you should do in this sport, which is just keep going. Because if enough cars retire, you'll get into the points. They're in the points, but if they don't complete enough laps, they won't score it.
I've had that before where you're not classified even though you finished. It happened to me in the GPVWC Atlantic Series. It really does pain you to get so far and then not even be able to score your points.
This is going to be a horrible situation for the racing team.
I think we're losing you a bit there, Jake, actually, mate. Sorry, you are just backing off a bit on the voice for you. You're just breaking up for me personally. I don't know whether it is for the broadcast, but for me, certainly, we are losing you a bit there. But yes, Hinz and Cabot both in at the moment. And Thomas Hinz in, Risto Cabot in also. At the same time, these two, both pitting in. What does Thomas Hinz do? He goes, stays on the supers. Cabot goes on the supers and Hinz on the ultras then. So no tyre change from either driver. And they come out simultaneously. Hinz and Cabot both exit the pits then on this tyre compound. And, well, yeah, let's see how they go on the exit here. So, crucial to see if Hinz is going to... Well, he's been making those ultra-softs work nicely, as is Cabot here. And Feidick ahead, Van Buren ahead, obviously. Nothing changing there, as we do lose Jake Sanson and rejoins. Hopefully now having fixed the problems that he had. Jake, you there, mate? Oh, no, it looks like we have lost Jake Sanson, unfortunately, again. But, yeah, Roland down with suspension issues too. Nick Roland retires from the race. He lost his rear wing, so obviously just packing it in, calling it a day there as well. But, yeah, Van Buren at the moment. Feidick, Capet, Hinz, all still chasing. As do we have Jake Sanson this time? I don't think we do, no. Yeah, well, obviously having a couple of connection issues at the moment is our lead commentator, Jake Sanson. But I'll keep you informed as to what's going on in the meantime till he gets back. And obviously keep the action called as I'm just trying to keep my eyes on who's doing what here. Obviously, Nick Roland obviously was out of the race now because of that crash that he had, losing his rear wing. Cabot in third, Feidick second, obviously chasing some at the moment. Cooper chasing down Brackon, who's now in eighth. He's going to lap him. So really, in terms of one-track action, we haven't got a lot going on anymore. It's more strategical battles and just holding on in these wet conditions offline when you have to make overtakes happen. Really is just that at the moment, although Gaia in 12th place and Clont obviously are similar sort of places behind each other at the moment. And in terms of actual on-track action, you know, as we say, it's more of a tactical battle at the moment between the drivers. But still, some interesting stuff to go with about 12 laps to go in this race. Van Buren, Fidek, Capet, still your top three, as we say. But, yeah, really just a strategical moment going on there. It has been a sensational race for a lot of drivers here. More specifically, Thomas Hinz is in P4 at the moment. He's on a stunner. I mean, it's no podium as he was on for before, but great racing so far. Great stuff from him. He's just absolutely giving it the full beans at the moment, and he's doing exactly what he needs to do. And yeah, it's just giving it the full throttle effect at the moment, and he's just keeping it nice and calm, not doing anything wrong. It's what Thomas Hinz needs to do. Jake Sanson actually saying he's just going throwing a tantrum at the moment. So yeah, it's just decided it's not going to play ball with the with our fantastic lead commentator. He's just trying to get in. It's not working out for him, but hopefully he'll be back with us soon. In fact, he is still trying, but just, you know, Jake, if you do get the chance, chip in to say that it's working. But just keep going. Either way, though, 11 laps to go in this race. Rudy Van Buren leading us off from Capet. From, yeah, again, it's just the same sort of thing. Not really going to be any changes in the order at this point, you know. Really, just at this point in the race, you expect it's just going to be a tactical battle. Not really much going to happen, as Jake Sanson is going to have to reboot his PC, so we'll be slightly longer before the lead commentator can rejoin us. But yes, until then, Risto Capet is just at the fastest lap of the race, 1:23.5 from the Estonian. He's determined to at least go out with the fastest lap. But yeah, and well, Sanson is watching the stream on his MacBook, so he's still with us in spirit. But obviously going to have to restart his Discord, and yeah, Risto Capet is determined to keep this going. He's third. He's got the fastest lap. He doesn't want to give this up by any means of the imagination. He's still going to try and chase David Fidek down. That much is for sure. As we got cars ahead of, you know, the likes of Cooper struggling as well. Dan Lovett goes off as well. So it's the thing, if you go onto this wet part of the track, you are going to struggle because there's just no grip there. That's the thing. You've got to worry about that. As officially now, Gerrit de Vries is out of classification contention, so there will be 0 points for Green Stripes Racing. And that is a shame, even though we've only got 12 classified runners. Well, I say 12 classified runners. We've only got 13 people running. Only 11 are going to be classified. This really has been a race of attrition at the Hungrary. Well, 8 laps down indeed goes Gerrit de Vries, and that's going to be a heartbreaker for the Dutchman, but not a heartbreaker for Van Buren, who on lap 60, going to start lap 61, is going to absolutely storm into a brilliant victory at this rate. He's currently 1:20 ahead of David Fidek. He's only got about 10 seconds until he laps everyone. Then Fidek's coming out of turn 1, and Van Buren's going into turn 1. This is stunning stuff. Really is brilliant from Van Buren at the moment. He's just, as I said at the start of this race, if he could do it, it would be amazing. But, well, he's not home and dry yet. We've seen Lopez with engine problems, perhaps overheating it, but he's not clear yet, is really Van Buren. He will have even less power than Lopez did, but he's got to get it to the end. It is worth nothing if you can't get it to the end, or at least to lap 68. As, oh, still no joy for Jake Sanson. His Discord really going on strike at the moment. May have to take it to the end of the race, unfortunately. But, yes, Van Buren from Fidek at the moment. It's going to be a big question of whether Van Buren can get it home, because we've seen that engine is not necessarily at 100%, and he's got to get it 7 laps or 8 laps, I believe, before he can get it home. Got to just really get it to that point of the race, and then he'll be in the clear. But, you know, if he doesn't finish this race, it's not going to be enough, really, but just got to get it, really, to the point where he can get it to the end. But Van Buren in to the pits now. He will lose time to David Fidek as a result, but he's not going to lose enough time to really threaten him at the moment. He comes into the pits now, and he's going to pull into the pit box. Now, what's he going to do in terms of tyres here? He is not going to switch. He's going to stay on the super soft. Well played from Rudy. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what we saw before. That's what we're seeing now. And Fidek is obviously going to gain time, but it won't be anything significant because, you know, Van Buren here is just sticking to his guns. James Kirk in the comments saying that the guys who are 3 to 5 laps down will be delighted and no engine issues for them. Yeah, there will be. They're 3 to 5 laps down on Van Buren. He is really the one pushing the limits of the engine life here. Really going to be the one who tests the waters and sees if he can get this engine to the end of the race. Guys, 5 laps down, I'm going to have to worry about that. They'll have to go 5 laps less than Van Buren. Really is starting to hot up at the end of this race. The tension is real, even though Van Buren leads by a country mile. It's about whether you'll get to the end. As what anyone is fighting again now as well. So a change of tires for him. Menno Klont in too. So coming into the pits now. Let's see what the Dutchman does. Stays on the inters. Wise call. Feidig in as well. Let's see what David Feidik's going to do. P4 says Argo Teeter as Alex Cooper and Thomas Hinz are close. Indeed, yes, Feidig is going on the ultra softs. Tyre compound change for Feidig then, but an interesting battle holding up between Cooper and Hinz here for P4. These two could be about to have a bit of a battle, as the dry line is so dry now that you'd have to be mad not to be on the dries, unless you're Menno Klont and you're not confident enough. But yes, Alex Cooper and Thomas Hinz about to have a crack at the racing action here. As Cooper goes wide there. Well, again, as we say, out of the wet part of the track. Oh, just misses Franchich. Oh, he just missed out there. Oh, blimey, that was close, but whoo, you got me heart racing there, didn't you, man? Well, Rudy Van Buren won't have such issues to worry about having to get through traffic like that, but that's going to put Cooper back on the back stretch. Oh, wow. Wow, blimey. That has got everyone's heart racing for the moment, at least, but still, it's going to be an interesting... Oh, Hormel cracks the barrier as well. That's how easy it is to lose it on those soft tyres. And, well, luckily, no evidence damage for the Welshman, sorry. Getting my countries mixed up. I'm getting my words mixed up. I can't English anymore. That's my problem as well. Well, problems for some drivers on the track, but not for RVB. Still leading out there in P1, of course, is Rudy and David, Risto, Thomas behind in 2, 3, 4, 5. As it really doesn't look like we're going to get Jake Sanson back, unfortunately, for the end of this race. It's still problems for his connection to the Discord server, unfortunately, which is a great shame because, of course, he's done so much of the race and he's done some fantastic commentary. We are, of course, pleased to have Jake along with us, but it just isn't going his way. It hasn't got a lot of the drivers' way this race, to be honest. But still, I'm here to take you through the rest of the racing action. And yeah, James Kirk, a bit of dual nationality going on here. Comes from the continent of Wales and the town of England. Well, I tell you this, I don't know whether he'll come from the city of the world, but still, Alex Cooper exits the pits on those super soft tyres, deciding now is the time to pit. And well, for Van Buren, he's on lap 64, just kind of coasted over me. He's a minute 19 ahead of Feidig. Surely he's on easy street for the win. Van Buren, Feidig, Capit, Hinz, Cooper, Franchich, Morris, Bracon, Klont, Guy, your top 10. Looking to end this race in those positions. Van Buren himself. Whoa, Rudy. You've just done the fastest lap of the race, mate. 122.999. No emergency service needed here. It's all Van Buren as he's done the fastest lap of the race. Mind you, David Feidig has gone purple sector 1, green sector 2, but his last sector didn't took the scratch. So if he can get that last sector sorted, he could go fastest too. I'll tell you this. RVB, DF, RK, TH, WTF has been the story of this race. It's been mad. Whew. I tell you this. Hey. Definitely been a good race, and well, at least Skinner saying, must say I already prefer this commentary team over some other she's heard of. Well, thank you very much, Elise. Great to have the compliments there, and Andrew Allen even saying Sanson and Anderson are pretty good. Well, I'll tell you this, I do love commentating on Super League. I do love commentating on Big Sanson. And I do love having such a great audience to commentate to and such racing to commentate on. It's not like you guys in the audience and the drivers aren't making my life easy. Yous really are. Making my life incredibly easy commentating on such fantastic racing. You really are. Just, my life's a dream at this moment as Bracon is trying to fend off the advances of Ben Horrell, who's actually a lap down on him and vying for position. Horrell has unlapped himself on Bracon. Fair play to Ben Horrell. That's not bad at all. This race is not done for him yet, by any means of the imagination. Well, Rooney Van Buren, David Feideck, these two have had good races, but hey. What can you say, about this race? It's been sensational from start to finish, and Rooney Van Buren has done everything he's needed to. Definite driver of the day candidate just for storming to this potential race win at the moment. Alex Cooper's had a great recovery from disaster. Thomas Ince has had a great recovery, full stop. I can't even pick a driver of the day, mate. I'm torn. If I was going to pick anyone, I'd say Hinz, just because he's Thomas Hinz, but you can't count out the likes of Van Buren. Certainly not. 4 laps to go, then will be 3 as soon as Van Buren crosses the line. And hey, he is going to be a happy chappy with this one, but I don't see really what the problem is for Van Buren if he can get it to the end now. Brett Merkel saying he really hopes Gerrit de Vries gets classified. I think he'd be lucky now. He's 8 laps down. He's got to gain enough time. If he is going to be classified, he would be very lucky to be classified. I don't think it's going to occur now, but, you know, we can all hope. Well, at least Kenna saying she knows how us feel in the box at the moment because she used to commentate herself. Well, fair enough to you, Elise. You know, always going to have a fellow commentator along in the box with us. And, yeah, obviously, you know, perhaps you can find yourself in the box in GPVWC one day. Well, it has been a fantastic, brilliant race so far in all occurrences. Jake Sanson still joy, even with the change in device. His Discord's just gone in strike for general for Jake Sanson. Doesn't like him at all. Must have just decided it doesn't want to be his friend today. Well, what can you do when your Discord goes on strike? Ben Horrell's response is despair, evidently. He had an incident, but really just been the race of keeping it nice and simple for RVB at the moment. Not had any issues. He's kept it nice and simple. Not really done many problems. Van Buren has just been a consistent driver who's just, as he just usually is. But yeah, this is his thing. This is his thing, as I think, yeah, Sanson out of it. So I'll bring it home for the brilliant lead commentator, my co-commentator. He's not happy about it, of course. I wouldn't be either. But yeah, really just going to be, I think Rudy Van Buren's just going to bring it home as well, to be honest. Just going to keep it going nice and simple. He's got 2 laps to go. Well, he's on lap, 3 laps to go. He's on lap 68 now of 70. And, well, it's going to be nice and simple racing for him. Interesting movers and shakers on this race, though. Obviously, fight against, you know, obviously consistent finish for him. Really starting to kick up towards the end of this season, the middle of the season as well. And, yeah, this is definitely going well for him. And, you know, it's really going okay for him at the moment, at least. And, yeah, things going okay at the moment for fighting, you know, just to be consistent there. Cabot's had a good race to be 3rd, Hinz 4th. You know, a lot of the guys up the top have really worked there, you know. Really just worked the hardest to get there and find themselves in a position, whereas, you know, they're just going to get a good result out of their own well-doing. As Jim Kirk says, Rudy Van Boorten, well, we'll have to see if he is that now. He's really been the canoe of the century this race, just kept it calm in the wet conditions. He is going to come round and complete 68 laps. He will go onto the 69th lap, last lap, but 1 for Van Buren. And I think we might be able to get Jake Sanson back in the action, as Argo is going to use an alternative communication method here. as well, I might have to join this different communication method. I'll be in 2 conversations at once, but it's going to be interesting to see how this works. But I'll keep commentating for the moment, at least. Van Buren is first at the moment from Videk, second from Capet, third as he starts the second of the last lap. At least Skinner says Rudy Van Bottas. Well, he has been perhaps the cool, calm, collected Valtteri Bottas of this race, but he's definitely not finished. He's very Dutch, but he's had the coolness of a Finn this race, kept it nice and consistent, and hi, he's done a good job. Props to you, RVB. You've done us all proud here today by just keeping it on the track. Definitely had a good time here, and well, we are going to change communication methods just to get Jake Sanson back in it, but I'm sure I'll be conducting the interviews of that sense. But Rudy Van Buren round into the final turn now, and he will start the final lap of this race for Bod Bull Racing. One more set of corners to go for RVB, and he will find himself in a fantastic victorious position. I've got no choice but to crack open the bends because this is going to be a great last race. I've actually just bent a drinks opener trying to do that, unfortunately, but Van Buren is going to get to the win of this race here, and yeah, he's going to come round turn 4 now, round turn 5, and this is really just a lap of honour for him, really, just to get to the end of the race. And whey, what a race it'll have been for him. There's been thrills, there's been spills, there's been moments where we thought it maybe wasn't going to be, but it is going to be his race here at the Hungrary ring at this rate and keeps this up. RVB, you can't say he's done anything wrong. He's done everything right. He's done exactly what he needed to do. He really has been the man of the moment, really, this time around. And, well, my voice may have gone down, but I certainly haven't stopped being enthusiastic. Maybe Chris Williamson has decided to do something here. But, yes, either way, I am going to be here nonetheless. But either way, that's not important about me. What's important is that Rudy Van Buren is coming around the final corner of this circuit, and he is going to win the Hungarian Grand Prix by 1 minute and 22 seconds over David Videk. That is sensational. Well played to RVB. Brilliantly done. Can't say fairer than that. Other cars crossing the finish line now. Bristol Capital be third. Thomas Hensel going to be fourth. Cooper fifth. Franchich sixth. Morris seventh. Morris Brackon eighth. Lee Morris, of course, seventh. Ben O'Clock ninth. Florian Guy at 10th. And he is actually going to be the last classified to the finishers, apart from Ben Horrell in 11th, because the Freaks and Lovett are not going to complete enough laps to be classified. Well. This is going to be interesting. I'm definitely intrigued to see how this goes, and whoo! What a race it's been for the end, but Videk will come home to be second place by the looks of it. Can't be overtaken by Capet now. Cooper fifth, Franchich sixth. You can see the order filing in now. And, well, Horrell, De Vries, Lovett on the cusp of not finishing. I think Horrell's just going to make it, but Garrett and Daniel won't. Either way, though, still going on as a... Oh, I'm just trying to join this... I am. I've got it. Yeah, brilliant. As I don't know whether I've been commentating on the stream or not, or whether we've been more being talking over each other or what. But yeah, definitely on the end of the right. It's been a fantastic race either way. Van Buren's great win from Videk, Capet, Hins, Cooper. Thomas Hins to be fourth is sensational.
I tell you what, that is absolutely brilliant from Thomas Hins. So close to the podium, fourth position, a very worthy effort indeed. So this is going to be an absolutely cracking end to the race, and what a sensational victory it is for Rudy Van Buren. Because of Discord deciding to throw a rage quit right at the very end. It is going to have to be Josh Anderson, of course, who handles all of the post-race interviews on Discord, not myself. I'll be throwing all sorts of banana peels and dodgy cans and all sorts of things at Discord in the hope that maybe in 4 weeks' time, when we get to the next round of the championship at the Nürburgring, we'll have a working Discord again, connection between us. But some good standout performances there. Well done to David Francic for getting himself back into the top 6 once again. Lee Morris was still 7th despite all of his troubles. That's pretty incredible when you think about it. Maurice Bracan, so good in the early stages. He's left him on the inters for so long and did an absolutely brilliant job of it. Menno Klont in 9th position despite all of that. Florian Gaia, 10th. Considering he was 4 laps down, 10th position. You've got to say, well done to Flo for keeping the car going. That's good points that he bagged in there, considering where he ended up finishing. So, fantastic job. Absolutely cracking race. I'm going to hand you over to Josh Anderson now to handle the post-race interviews, but I will be listening.
Yep, you're going to be listening indeed. And, well, I do hope Argo is on Discord now because it's interview time. And we're going to be bringing some people in to have Les interview, as they don't say in France by any means of the imagination. And I reckon we're going to start off. Well, we got a lot of people in, actually. So let's start off with the fantastic Nordstrom duo of David Feidick and Florian Gaia. David, Florian, great to have you with us. We'll start with the reigning champion, David Feidick. Great race for you to finish 2nd. As I don't think I've been unmuted yet on Discord. I don't think I don't think that's happened, but because people can't talk to me. But yes, we'll try that again in just a moment's time. And once people can actually hear me, stuff will happen. I must still be speaking to people because obviously people are talking. Do we have David and Florian now?
Here.
Yep, we have Florian at least. I don't know why David Feidick is. Hello to you either way though, Florian. Great to have you with us. Shame your race didn't go well
though. Yeah, nothing really went well. I spun 3 million times and crashed and lost wings. And yeah, pace once I kept it on a dry line was, I think, as good as the guys up front, but I just didn't manage to keep it on the line, and others did, so I only got myself to blame for this result and let down my team this way.
Yeah, well, I mean, it must have coming off the back of such a good last race anyway, but obviously it just hasn't really been your race here. Hopefully you'll be able to bounce back from that. I'm sure David Feidick, though, will be feeling all right, though, with the 2nd place finish coming out of this race.
What just happened?
I don't know myself, mate. Wow. That was mental.
That was survival. That was crazy.
I bet it was. I mean, you were really on for the winning points of that race, but 2nd place, though, as you said, you know, you told us before you'd really come into your own at the 2nd part of the season, and you're starting to prove that, getting the 2nds and the 3rds in, and possibly even going to take the championship fight at this rate to the likes of Rudy Van Buren.
Did you just say I was in for the win?
Well, at points in the race, you certainly were.
Okay, I'll take that. No, Jesus, couldn't remember most of it. So yeah, the start was like, well, start with quality because like first time this season, like I've got top 4, I think, in quality, which just shows how poor I've been. Which obviously puts you in a better place for the race starting out of the mess, which helped lovely. Yeah, a couple of the guys went a bit frantic on the start. Like Roland was quick behind me, Francic was on the wets in front of me, so I just had to like keep my own pace until Nick's tyres dropped off, and it was too dry for the wets of Francic, which I eventually got past. And then it's just stay on track. I mean, I had a couple of moments running wide, but I kept the car straight, so I didn't spin and hit the wall, and brought it home. Yeah, and other people just took the risk and dropped off around me.
Yeah, it just ultimately, at the end, that's how it worked, really. But, you know, this is the last race, obviously, before the summer break. We're going to have a summer break, and Nordstrom going to come into the 2nd half of the season, revitalised, possibly, refreshed, bang on target, race wins.
Yeah, damn right. Yeah. We got big updates for Germany, as most teams probably, as it's a summer break. But we ordered it like from a couple of weeks ago, so hopefully we've got a jump that way. And yeah, summer break. Obviously, I won't be having a break because I'm not going to rest until I've got pace back, which I'm still missing a few attempts in quali. Other than that, I think race pace I can put up a fight. But yeah, I had to race Rudy on the last 10 laps to make sure he didn't lap me as well. So I'm taking that as like a little victory. But
yeah, a minor victory in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good fun. Rudy was untouchable, but yeah, I do like the challenge of wet weather. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, for Florian as well, really for the summer break, it's just going to be about trying to get your mind back in the game, really, because these last couple, this race hasn't been yours. You had the great win, of course, but, you know, you've proven you can win, so that's got to be enough.
Well, if it stays dry, I think I can win every race, so, yeah, just praying it stays dry for every round, and then I think we can challenge, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I really want to do, at least keep the hope you can challenge, and, well... That's really crucial, really. Just keeping confidence and thinking you can do it at least. Thank you very much, David and Florian, for joining us, of course. One of the lovely couples of Super League, David and Florian, the brilliant teammates, and great to have you with us once again, lads.
Cheers, Josh.
And to this point, I'd like to bring in a certain Morris of the Lee variety, because we've got him in here now. Lee Morris from Mad Cape Racing. Lee, 6th or 7th place again. You won't be happy with it. We know you love winning. You know you love being up the order, but you were great at points in that race. But again, it's just luck isn't on your side, is it?
It's just so deflated after that. Really am.
I don't blame you, mate. I mean, after a race like that, you were so good at points in that race. It was unbelievable, but then it just doesn't seem to go your way. What exactly happened?
Well, I mean, we got the pole again. That's a hat-trick of poles, so I was really happy with that. And regardless of the fact that it started raining in qualifying, I would have had the pole anyway because we had the pace. You know, I was quickest again. And this week, I was really confident about our race pace. I really made some leaps and bounds this week on the tyres, and I was really happy with it. And then obviously it rained, so I thought, well, let's change it a little bit. And I was gutted because at the start, Risto got a jump on me, and I was quicker than him, but I haven't turned my graphics down. It's stupid, right? If you have higher graphics settings when it rains, it penalises you because you cannot see a thing. The spray is unbelievable. But my teammate Nick doesn't have it turned on, and it's just like a normal track to him. There's no spray. So I couldn't see anything in front of like anything at all. And I made a mistake, and then Rudy got by, and I thought, right, I'll drop back to about 3 seconds behind Rudy, and he started to pull away a little bit anyway. I thought I'll drop back, and just so I can see the track until it starts to dry, because that's what I thought was going to happen, and it did. And we played it perfect. We came back out on inters. I was in a position to jump Rudy when he made his first pit stop because we pitted earlier than him. I was catching Risto. We were in a safe third, miles in front of everyone else. You know, chance for a win again. And then someone, I don't know who it was, I think it was, I don't know what his name is. It's the same guy who caused the accident in Monaco between me and Baldi, his teammate. I think it was him anyway. It was either that or Baldi. It was one of them Wouters cars. He just went, I don't know what he was doing. He just spun across the front of the pit lane and wiped me out. And he literally just smashed my car to pieces. So I had to do a pit stop again. And I was like 14th or something. And the car was damaged. And then trying to push back through from make-up time, I crashed again because of the car damage and trying to push back through. And it's just endless. It's just, when will this luck change? It's getting really, really difficult to deal with this now.
Well, you've got a season break to just worry about it and get it, you know, maybe put the first half of the season behind you, come into the second half a bit more refreshed, a bit more focused, and a bit more ready to, you know, engage yourself with the actual thing. And I think we've interrupted a mid-sentence here, and Nick Rowland, your teammate, actually, who himself had a pretty good race of points. He was 4th point in this race. It's not often we get you, Nick, so great to have you in the broadcast booth with us. And just how did that race go from your point of view?
Started all right. It was quite a nice start, and then I got a little bit held up behind David. I think it was both Davids actually. So I was a little bit stuck there for a little bit. And then when I'd made the first stop, still was pretty solid. But then the switch over to the dry tires was pretty bad. So I was struggling a little bit more so than I usually would do with understeer. Controlled it okay for the next couple of stints, but again, just little bits on the wet were a bit of a nightmare. And then I tried to go through 2 and 4, probably a touch too fast, maybe. Ever so slightly clipped the edge of the water, and there's just no grip. That's it. You're straight, and I wrecked the rear right corner, and rear wing came off. unfortunately.
Yeah, so easy to do, unfortunately. But, you know, just to talk about the summer break, because your team, Lee and Nick, Mad Cape is actually one of the worst cars on the grid statistically. But it doesn't seem to be affecting you much, because your sheer talent, you've brought it up to some fantastic results so far this season. So, are we going to see a development drive in the second half of the season? Maybe it push yourself even further up the road to field and maybe challenge the likes of Van Buren even more?
Well, I've been garbage for the first 4 races of getting used to this mod, but it's Lee that's like pioneered it and basically carried the team, I guess. It's all he's doing. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm just trying my best to learn everything.
Oh, you do your part as well, though. You know, you
8 races behind or something, aren't I?
You do the runs though, and that's what counts. It's just we're not getting the results we deserve. You know, like today again, wiped out by someone else who can't drive. I got to make a point, and I regret saying, I probably regret saying this later, but there's some people who are racing in Super League who shouldn't be in Super League. They shouldn't be in Formula Challenge. They know who they are. And they're lapping 7 or 8 seconds slower, and that's not acceptable at all. Like to be going that slow compared to the leaders.
I've just joined in again because Discord has got back into me. I've got to ask.
Hello, we're going to Sanson.
I'm not trying. No, I'm not trying to get credit, but I wanted to chip in there, Lee, with an interesting question because you made the point there that there are drivers that are sort of 7-8 seconds off the pace. It's an interesting point that you make there, but do you not feel that we need to take this particular race into context? Because obviously with the very differing grip levels, everybody got caught out in qualifying. Not many people have obviously practiced for this race in the wet because we weren't sure that there was going to be particular, you know, because we weren't sure that this was kind of grip we were going to have. Does that not need to be taken into context, or is this a more general view?
I get what you're saying, but it's not this race. It's every race.
Right, okay.
It's the same few drivers, and it happens every race with the same drivers, and they know who they are. They're literally seconds and seconds off the pace, and it's unacceptable. They should be like a 107% rule or something like that. That if you don't qualify within a certain time and can't do a representative race pace, you shouldn't be allowed to race. Because today again, I got wiped out by someone who can't drive, and that's I know it sounds nasty, but that's the truth. He just cannot drive. The person who wiped me out knows who he is, and it's just not acceptable because we just put all that effort in all week. He's probably done no laps, turned up. He gets to race with us, and yet I get no result because of him. And also these conditions, I don't know who does this wet thing, or I don't know if it's an R-Factor 2 thing, but the fact that I don't know if you was in the server and saw, but the way the track wetness works, the offline is like 80% and the online is 0%. How is that logical whatsoever? It was the most pathetically unrealistic thing I've ever raced in my life.
Yeah,
it's just under which, man.
I'll back that one as well, saying that balance of the wet wrong. There's something wrong with the on off, because I've seen tracks where on is 70% as well as say 80% offline. It's both.
Of course it's wrong. It's not wrong. Of course it's wrong. It's wrong because in a real life situation, the track wouldn't be so dry in the middle to start with. It would dry after a while, yes. But it wouldn't be dry to start the race. If the track's wet before any cars have gone round, the whole track's wet until the cars go around and make it dry.
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously, there's plus and minuses to everything, but obviously, you know, just ultimately just really hasn't been your race, I guess, Mad Cape. And hopefully for the coming out of the season break, it'll be nice and good for you. But thank you very much for joining us, Lee, Nick, and a pleasure to have you as always.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate that. First time in here in a while, so thank you.
Yeah, pleasure to have you back, Nick.
Right, who is next?
I think we should have our race winners.
That's a very good idea, to be fair. I think once again, they have pulled off the almost unthinkable in the conditions. We weren't sure in the early stages who was going to get this one, but we bring in the Vodball boys, Risto Capit and Rudy Van Buren, who again, Rudy, we have to start first of all with you. I mean, I've got to ask this now. Do you ever have an off day? Do you ever have an off day? I mean, today, if you were ever going to lose a race when you were in the lead, today was the day to do it. And even today, you didn't lose. I mean, that must have been such a stressful race.
Yeah, it was difficult. Talking about an off day, I'd say China and Silverstone. Looking at the results.
I suppose.
No, but this was a difficult one at the beginning. I was actually quite surprised to hear what Lee just said about that spray and graphic setting, because as far as I know, there's been an upgrade and everybody is stuck in spray. And trust me, I've got everything on low and a ditzy spray, so I don't take that one. But whatever. He made the mistake. Got behind Risto. Saw him pit quite early, unexpectedly for me, to say the least. Just thought, well, the track's drying, let's keep going. And from there on, it started. The cards started to fall my way. Risto making the mistake, giving me the room. So it was all good. It was stressful. I had 3 moments in this race where I could have completely binned it, and I was like very tiptoeing. But apart from that, well, actually, I forget the most important one. When Lopez blew up his engine, that scared me to death because I knew my engine was worse percentage-wise than his. So from that moment, I instantly put it to boost 1 and just short shift the whole way around. Would have loved to give David a run for his money to lap him, but it was better to bail out of that thing and go for the safe option.
Fair enough. And Risto, I want to come to you as well now. Risto, in the early stages, we thought it was going to be potentially your day. I mean, that start, wow. I mean, have you ever had a start as good as that in Super League? That was absolutely on it.
Yeah, to be honest, I have starts like this every race. But yeah, I thought the same as you.
And obviously that gave you a really good springboard to run into the lead of the race. And you looked like things were going really well in the interim. I mean, you were one of the first of the front runners to make the switch from wet to dry. It must have been so difficult to make that call.
Yes, it was, but I saw from Rudy that he was a bit faster again, so I had to make the risk. I knew it was okay for the race. The dry line was wide enough. The few laps I did, I was staying on pace, and as it was drying, I think it would have been the right call and would have put me ahead perhaps, but I just made a mistake.
And fair enough. I mean, it must be very frustrating to know that to a certain extent. I mean, I know Rudy was incredibly strong in terms of pace today, but that is a race that potentially got away from you today. That could have been your win.
Yeah, you are correct.
Okay, so Rudy, from that point of view, I mean, is it difficult to know that, you know, when you look at it, that was a race where you had to keep your wits about you, you had to keep your head, but so many of the drivers around you fell off the boil at one point. I mean, pretty much everybody except for you ended up in the wall or off the circuit at some point, and even you had a couple of spins yourself. I mean, it was really, really difficult to keep it together.
Oh, I didn't notice the spins I made. Must have been quick ones, but
Were you that much in the, were you that in the zone?
I don't know. I didn't make any spins, but
well, no, but you didn't slip.
No, you slipped up. You slipped up.
There was a couple of slips, yes, but you didn't spin.
No, I had three hairy moments.
Yeah, when you hit the wall coming out of the final turn, was that a, oh no.
Did I hit the wall?
I think there was a slight brush with the wall at the exit turn of the final turn. You must have been thinking at that point, oh no, come on, bring it back. What goes through your head at that moment when you're that far in front?
Nothing. Just blank. Like just error, simple, and you do everything to save it. And these cars are bitches when you get with the slicks on the wet patch, and as soon as you see it coming, you can only be cautious and try to abort whatever happens and don't floor it. But well, I actually caught the one going onto the main straight. I caught it and then it bite it again. So it was really tricky. But I guess the whole race showed it was really tricky. But I was able to get through it with good pace and just do my own thing.
Yeah, that's really what you got to do. If I may just interject, just to ask a question. Obviously, we've had the first half of the season now, Rudy Risto. You've really been the dominant force coming into the season break. I expect you'll be expecting to have the same sort of domination coming out of the season break as well.
Yes.
I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't, really, is there?
Fair enough.
Yeah, what else should we say? I think Risto agrees on it. Just saying one word and it's yes.
Yes.
Well, that's the easiest answer to a question we've ever had, Jake.
It is. I mean, I'm guessing at this point, Risto. I mean, it's a difficult position for you to be in to kind of keep, you know, the morale up, especially when, you know, at the end of the day, you came away with a third position today. It was an amazing fight back. Just how big a frustration has today been when you consider, okay, yes, you got a third position and you only lost 10 more points to Rudy, but it seems like you're taking this one particularly to heart.
Well, yeah, at one point you grow tired of these comebacks, but although I do race for results, and P3 is a great result, although for driving wise I should not be in the points for such a race, but yeah, the grid is spread out, but yeah, it's disappointing. Of course, you can make positives from the pace and from each nuance of the race, but yeah, for once there could be an upturn, and I know that all the mistakes I did were just the same mistakes I always do, just lose concentration and not focus on the corner, and so just do not improve myself. That is the only frustration. But of course, I will always, as always, keep trying to push forward. And we are in such a good position with the team and with the car and with the strategy and with all the setups and system we have that it's still a pleasure to drive and to do such results. So it's still for sure doesn't put me off. I will be back and we will keep on pushing.
And I'm guessing as well, at the Nürburgring in 4 weeks' time, you are going to be absolutely on it to make sure that it's you on the top step, because you've worked so hard in the first half of the season and had so many opportunities. Maybe this is going to be the one where you really push it.
Probably that track won't be the one for. We will start playing engines around. For this round, I had quite a bit better engine than Rudy, and I had a bit higher wing, which suited the wetness. So if ever it was this race, and maybe next race will not be so good, Nürburgring should be a favorite of Rudy as well. But at some point of the season, for sure, some of the tracks coming up should click for me. So yeah, I'm hoping.
Okay, well, guys, thank you so much again for giving us such entertainment out there. That's 40 more points on the board from Vodbull here at the Hungarring. So thank you to Rudy Van Buren, to Risto Capit. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
What more could you want than 43 points on the board?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 43 points. My
I got 43, but they got 40. I was going to say 43.
Is awful. Yeah, my maths is awful.
No, they did actually get 40 points. I was saying 43, but it wasn't free. They had to work for it.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, I think we should end on a positive note again. And the best way to do that is to bring in the most positive man in the entire Super League grid. And that is the Australian boy wonder who's done it again today, Thomas Hinz. 4th position, Thomas. That was such an absolutely brilliant drive again from you. So close to that podium. It was so good to watch.
Yeah, well, thanks, guys. First off, yeah, boy.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, you got 4th place, mate. Yeah, come on, mate.
First off that, they're very wanted. Second off, yeah, no, we got really close. Yeah, I was as shocked as anyone when at the end there it all sort of ironed out and suddenly I was in 3rd and I was like, oh geez, I actually have a legitimate chance of a podium because because obviously because I knew I'd be able to get the tyres to last, because it's always been my thing all season is to just get the tyres to last. So it's what I was doing all race long. And when we realised that we'd have the strategy, it just sort of it clicked. I think when I realised I could maybe have a shot at the 3rd, I actually said to the guys, I was like, I did actually say to him, I said, look, if I'm really quiet for the rest of this race, it's because it's serious now. So even though I was like, I've got really knuckling down now. But Risto was just too strong. In the end, he was too strong, and I tried to hold him off as best I could. But in the end, Vodbull's damn pit crews are too quick. Damn it, Mike, whatever you give them, they do a very good job. Because we pit at the same time, and he's just quicker pit crew. And once he jumped me and had clear air, there's not much I really could have done. I kept pushing, maybe see if he would have an incident, but he didn't. That's all good. Had Alex coming at me, and then he had to pit again, so that sort of relieved me there. So I've 4th. I wasn't even thinking was a possibility. I was just like loving the Discord general chat. By the way, guys, again, thank you for everyone for the kind words. Really, means so much. I don't think I really have the words unbelievably, which is weird for me because usually I can blabber on for hours and hours to just ask a certain Dennis Jordan, who hopefully he's watching. He'd tell you from VEC that I can chat for an entire 3-hour stint non-stop. It was just bananas race. I don't think there'll ever be one level top that. That was just, I had it all quite literally. And it was the only thing. Yeah, it was only I had a little moment in the pit lane. The first stop obviously was really wet, put on dries, and had a little bit of a moment there. But I think everyone from what I hear had some sort of moment in the pit lane. So I guess I just joined the queue. So it was the only moment. But I think we were saying in the team, even if I hadn't had that, I think Risto would have had us because he was just too quick, in the end. So, but to get a top 5 in that, especially in that, is it's crazy. It's crazy.
I've said for so long, Thomas, that you are one of the most in terms of outright talent, you are one of the best on the grid. I've said it for so long, and that you really can stick it with the top guys. Now you're getting your chances and taking them. You're proving it. This is exactly what I've been saying for so long, and this has got to make you so motivated coming into the summer break.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks. Just hugely, Josh. just yeah. Oh yeah.
I've been supporting you since day one, mate.
I
know
you
have. Yeah.
Something. Actually, I want to offer up something that you would have missed, Thomas, because this was actually said in mid-race. I'm having to scroll back through the chat a little bit earlier on because this is from a chap you might know. Kirky was writing on the chat earlier on. He says, I think Hinz has had an absolutely outstanding race. Man, he beats himself up far too much, but now he's much more relaxed. You can see the benefits. Mindset is such an understated part of a driver. It can affect so much. And it just shows you, you know, he's got your support. So many other people want you to succeed. And it's great that you're so close now to getting to the top spot. Do you think that in the second half of the season, there are any circuits where you can actually bring out the A guns, and this is where you'll really get to show people what you can do?
Well, big thanks to Kirky, James, man. Seriously, you've always been amazing, man. You know, we've always got on really well, and you know, yeah, just big thanks, James. Really, it's really appreciated, man. And we'll have to. Yeah, we'll have to have a chat or something to catch up.
You'll have to have a virtual beer.
Virtual. Yeah, because it's been so long since we've caught up. But yeah, no, it's I think it's just any track like Hungary, because I sort of had a hunch I might be in a bit stronger of a position in Hungary. I didn't think I was still going to be right as tough as I was, but I figured I might be a little bit stronger because it is obviously such a strategy track, and track position and being able to make the tyres work is so handy at Hungary. So I sort of had a hunch going in that it would suit me quite well. So that was handy, and then obviously the weather just played in my hands. I mean, I was when the intermediate conditions, I was being told through the broadcast I was watching, I think Rout and that were watching, the guys in the Discord, again, Rout and Jason, the whole team, by the way, they're just, I can't think, they're the reason I got that. That's the setup was amazing, and they were just so good throughout the race. That was just so helpful. But they were mentioning that on the inters I was seemingly up amongst the quickest, which was shocking to me because I didn't think I was going that fast. So yeah, so I guess weather works for me. But yeah, I don't know. I guess, I mean, I really like Spa. I really enjoy it, but I'm not sure if you know, if it really works. Obviously tyre wear and that's not as big there, and strategy's not as key. So yeah, it's tough to call. I'm not really sure. But yeah, just as any track really like Hungary or similar tracks where tyres and strategy is key, that's where I'll probably be having a good shot again, because that's where I'll, you know, my key strengths come forward. So yeah, no, not sure, but hopefully just, yeah, if I can get a top 5 or 2, that'd be amazing. So yeah, we'll see how we go. Obviously, yeah, I'm just, as always, I just take it one race at a time. And yeah, we'll just see how we go. But yeah, you know, again, just huge thanks to everybody. I mean, just Jeffrey there in the general chat there saying Singapore. Yeah, that actually might be cool. Jeffrey's mentioned, you know, Singapore, because obviously again, track position, everything, and then if you can do strategy, you can be a lovely trolley train. You can just trolley train that stuff for days. So yeah, maybe Singapore, something like that. You know, some sort of circle like that, basically, where track position and strategy is going to be the king. But yeah, no, it's, I don't know. I think I'm still a little bit shocked.
I wonder how the song goes. Does it go na 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 Thomas Hinz, etc.
Oh dear. Oh no.
Well, you've got your own chant, mate. You've got something out of this race.
Only Josh Anderson could go there. That's brilliant.
To be fair, I did actually at one point start. When I was up, I think when I actually first got into the top 5 there on strategy, I did have a little bit of a sing briefly. I did a little bit of a sing just because I was obviously seeing role as it was. I was like, holy crap! Holy bejeebers! And yeah, and I just had a little bit of a sing for a few corners. Hopefully the guys didn't mind. I'm sorry, my voice is terrible for singing, so apologies to the team for having to listen to me sing for like, was it 10-15 seconds?
Give us a 2 now, Tom.
No.
David Feidig appears out of nowhere.
Story of his season. Ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Hinz, absolutely fantastic to have you on the stream again. And 4th position today. Hopefully there's a few more trophies to come in the second half of the year. Have a good one, mate. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Again, thank you so much for having me on. Awesome stuff for the broadcast, and huge thanks to the team for being the best team ever.
We absolutely love it when Discord plays ball. We absolutely love it. It's been absolutely cracking. And
we love technical issues.
I tell you what, the first half of this season has absolutely flown by. I've loved every single second of the first 9 races of the year. We've got another 9 to go. 4-week break now, though, Josh. So what's going to happen, do we think, in the next 4 weeks that's really going to turn things around? Who can you see really bringing out something special in the second half of the year?
Thomas Hinz.
Okay.
But apart from Thomas Hinz, there's a lot of people who might come in, you know, all over because of the great ladder. There'll be probably maybe some new drivers coming in, some drivers who might just kick it up again. I expect Nordstrom will go from strength to strength. Vodbrod are going to keep up with successes. We might see Red Archer kick it up again, Mad Kate perhaps within Super League specifically, but it isn't just Super League, which we'll be really enjoying in the second half of the season, because we have, coming out of the summer break, we'll have the International Touring Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking going into it that over the next 4 weeks, the one team that we need to keep an eye on heading to the Nürburgring is Nordstrom. I don't think Silverstone was a fluke. Their pace today was very strong in the dry. So perhaps there's a little bit more to come from them. In 4 weeks' time, we'll find out. But Josh, once again, a huge pleasure to share the commentary box with you.
And a pleasure to share it with you, Jake.
Huge thank you as well to Argo Tita, to everybody for watching and for tuning in to the 9th round of the 2017 Storm Charge GPVWC Super League. We're going to take a 4-week breather. Yes, our summer holidays. So get some suntan while you can, drivers, because in 4 weeks' time, we're going to do it all over again for the Nürburgring. Don't forget, on the final week of July, it's going to be Tuesday night for the Formula Challenge, Wednesday night for Super Cup, and Thursday night for Super League. So join me on the Tuesday, the last week of July, as we talk you through the Formula Challenge. Join the boys from simnews.tv on the Wednesday night, Ben Willis and Kasper Kolodijik, who will take you through the action on the Wednesday night for Formula Challenge, and then for Super Cup. And then on the Thursday, myself and Josh will be back in action once again for the big show. And the second half of the season is set to be even closer and even tougher than the first half. Can Rudy Van Buren's lead be chipped away? Only time will tell. We'll see you all at the Nürburgring a month from now. I'm Jake Sanson. That's Josh Anderson. Huge thank you to Argo and all the boys at GPVWC for the first half of a cracking season. The second half is not far away. Take care. See you in 4 weeks.